there.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Ian and Omar here again, getting ready for the last day of chess at the National Open following Kamryn's games. As you can see, they are doing some security checks, make sure nobody's got any devices on them.
Any weapons? You know what
Yeah. And we are about to get underway. This is, what is this? This is round six.
No, six.
Round six, Kamryn has 2.5 out of 5 so far, so she's doing well. Um, and as we've been saying, she's been playing players all higher rated than her so far, and it's going to continue this round with another tough opponent. Um, what's the name we got here? Jeff, I think Jeff Anderson,
All
rated
right.
just about 1700, a little under. Um, yeah. So let me flip this around so we're watching it from Kamryn's side. I don't know when the moves will start to populate. So for the start of the game, we're gonna try to follow along, um, just from the camera view, and I'll try to put the moves in. So yeah, but we're excited. It's the last day, so I'll probably have
Yeah,
many
man.
exciting games.
Yes. Every single game I've gotten to watch has been both exciting and instructive, and just her fight.
Yeah.
Her fight has been well, there's been multiple lessons,
Hmm.
especially for somebody like me. Like this is like a master class. Getting to hear from you and getting to watch her, I'm getting an education that is invaluable. But even more so, more beyond the chess, it's the I think the biggest lessons are the things that we discovered. Like it's the fact that she was able to get a queen in a game where I want to like she was down a whole piece, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly,
Yeah, for a couple
and
of pawns, but they weren't very high quality pawns. But somehow,
not I mean, and they're a good distance from one another, and
yeah,
she managed to queen one of them and gave white problems
yeah,
down the stretch and could have drawn that game from what was otherwise like the position was so lost for her, at least from our vantage point, that we were wrapping up
hmm,
in our chat like, well, we'll be talking to her in a few minutes. She probably should resign. I think even I said after rooting for her, like, oh, I'll probably resign here,
I think that might
and
have
they were
ended up
still,
being the longest game of the tournament. By the way,
yeah, it was like four and a
it
half
was.
hours we were
Yeah.
we were doing that one. But the lessons that came out of that, and this is something, man, that I'm thinking a lot about. Tim says this to me all the time, and I mentioned this on Kevin's pod this week, that the lessons you get in a loss, if you can find three things, two to three things in a loss, it's worth the cost of the rating it's like the rating is the payment for the lesson that you get.
Yeah.
And there's two major things that come out of that game for me. One was that calculation that you gave from every angle and said, this, like, you were like, please play this because it works if you do this. And then for her to get it, and then the lesson about locking in on that. And I know they're making moves, so I don't want to distract you
It's
too much.
okay.
But
No,
like,
no, no, go, go.
okay, the the lesson in terms of locking in and knowing when to abandon a good plan as
Mm.
opposed to doubling down on a good plan that is suddenly less good. That is, I think, a universal lesson for all chess players of all levels, that it knowing when to pivot. I think that lesson is as crucial in terms of her level of chess. I think it almost, I would argue, and it starts here at 1500 and up, where it's no longer like for me. And the thing you emphasize to me a lot through our coaching is, Omar, you got to know when to recognize critical moments. I believe that's the beginning of knowing when to abandon what was otherwise a great plan
Hmm.
2 positions ago or something like that. I think there's levels to that. And I had never considered that as something that was another skill you had to learn, like clock management or time management. And then when you said, oh, and by the way, you can actually weaponize things like getting up to get water, when to come back, when the like the game within the game within the game. These are things that I just never considered. And then, of course, just the end game possibilities that you've mentioned to me. But again, I'm an adult improver. And when you're an adult improver, you have to, I call it the rule of three. you have to fail at least 3 times at something before you'll believe it's true. Even if
Hmm.
a master is teaching it to you, like that in games, any in games. Why would I train that until you fail at it 100 times? Then you go, Ian, let's focus on in game. And you go, oh, well, welcome. So, okay, so it's looking like
That's
she's
all good words of
all good
wisdom.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So she's doing
well said.
her thing
She's
on
doing her
this, and
thing. This is the second
yeah,
time somebody has played this opening against her this tournament. The last time was that very long loss that she had, that she almost
right.
saved with that you were just describing with the draw at the end. And last time she played like this reversed mirrored London system as black, so I expect Bishop F5. Oh, she just played it actually.
Okay.
So there we have it, Bishop F5. This is so far following that same game exactly. And we'll see what white does. There's different things. Probably castles, but then D3 can happen. And yeah, she's played Bishop F5. D3 castles is what happened in the previous game. I don't remember the move order exactly, but if we get that, it's pretty likely.
Okay.
Then yeah, we'll be following that round. What round was that? Round 4 game for
Round
a
four.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Now, Ian, here's
castles.
something that I'm already remembering. Again, this is all the lessons sort of coming back to my mind. That dark square bishop, we're going to want that on E7 and not on D6 this time because of that fork, that potential fork. If the break is on
Yes.
that E pawn, and that
Oh
is
yeah.
forever embedded, like that is a stake in my brain, is a flag planted. Not that I even play this, but in the on the off chance that I find myself in a position like this, which is totally possible because the even with the Pierce or the King's Indian, you could find yourself in it transposed it into so many different things. And that little nugget is going to be in my mind because I'm the type of player that will not see the threat this far away because of that situation of sitting with it. Like I can't unsee it now.
So what Omar is talking about is actually I'm going to switch games here for just a moment to show you this round 4 game that she played against Charles Davis. The opening you'll see was exactly the same, and in this position, Kamryn went bishop d6. We had talked about how that's actually a little bit misplaced in this position because if white tries for this e4 pawn break and then gets e5 in, you're just putting yourself in a situation where you're going to get forked. So I don't know that we talked about that with Kamryn after the game when we reviewed it. So I really hope she looked back at the stream and plays bishop to e7 now.
Yeah, you know what? I'm
Hopefully she'll
thinking to
do
you, we
this instead.
never, yeah, we did not, as much as we talked about it. But in our
Yeah.
defense, by the time we got to the end of that game, we were like, okay, and we just need to go eat
Yeah, yeah,
because
it
we
was
had
really
like we had
long. We
like
were like, we
five
gotta get out
minutes
of here.
before her, yeah, before like the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she used every morsel of her time on
Yeah.
that as she should.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd be
I'm
curious.
I'm
I,
I'm
I'm
really
almost
hoping.
expecting. I'm almost expecting now because we didn't mention it that Bishop D6. I'm almost expecting it now.
Yeah.
I hope we don't, just because of everything we talked about. Because I'm
It
gonna feel like, we didn't tell her.
it does
But you know what
depend a
though?
little bit on what white does. Like if they play
Yeah, like it
d4,
didn't
it doesn't
cost her
matter.
last time. And well, funny enough, the E pawn break ended up being, I want to say, like E3 late in the game. Like it never
Yeah.
really became a factor.
Well, that's because white played. They went d3 and then they played for c4. They did a different pawn break, trying to
Right,
attack our
right.
center from the wing instead of just going right through the center. That's a little bit less common than e4. So, okay, we have c4. Hmm.
Now that's not now in this instance, and I'm kind of thinking about this in from the fact that I play this opening as white.
Hmm.
Um, he only difference is I play D4,
Yeah.
but C4 is it's like he's playing the Catalan out of order
Yes, if
of
d4
a
happens,
sort.
we're into more of a Catalan structure.
Okay.
That'll be the
So right
key.
now he's just King's Indian attack, I would think, right?
Yeah, King's
Because of the
Indian
order.
attack is more like they play d3 and e4.
Okay.
this is more like I think we sort of have to wait and see what it.
Like it kind of doesn't have a
I
name.
guess it
He's
is
just
King's
playing
Indian
things that
attack.
could be other things.
No,
I got
I
you.
think it is King's Indian attack. We have to kind of wait and see what how exactly things develop because it could transpose if White ends up playing d4, it could be more of a Catalan type structure. Um,
I got you.
but
This is
yeah, this
interesting.
is not a free pawn. Well, it is a free pawn, but it's if we take it, there's some big major drawbacks. It opens up this bishop
Yeah,
to attack some of our weaknesses, and as well as that pawn won't be able to live
right. You won't.
forever.
Yeah, it
So
won't survive. Yeah.
yeah, so White is baiting Black, trying to distract our pawn away from the center.
I like this approach as white. I don't think she takes that. Um, but I like this approach doing I'm thinking about this out of the move order because you reveal less of your hand.
Hmm.
Whereas I play immediately D4 and then C4, depending on, and again, at some point C4, but I've gotten very systemized in my approach and have never seen it where you do everything else and then undermine the center pawn with C4. Mind you, I don't know that you're going to get this every time, but I think you get it enough where you've got that pawn chain is black going up in that particular diagonal with the bishop out, with the knight sitting on f6. I've seen this enough playing d4 that you'll probably have this position more often than not if you play this opening as white. And I've never considered breaking, waiting, delaying d4 and doing this undermine move
Yeah,
just to kind of see if they take. Like I've never considered doing it in this particular order.
yeah, it's I mean, I think they all have their merits, but yeah, in this case, White is sort of keeping Black guessing, like you said, about what exactly they're going to be doing. The good thing for Kamryn is it doesn't really matter the way she's
I
played
got
this
you.
so far. She can sort of and there's nothing that would be shocking or really punish this bishop to f5 move. The only yeah, no, there's not any really major issues for White. Whether White decide for Black, I mean, whether White plays d3 or d4, it's not really going to matter if they hold off for a while. It doesn't make a huge difference. But I think she'll just play pawn c6. I didn't realize she's
Got
not at
you.
the board right now. She's probably off getting her water. That's her usual
Yeah.
routine. She makes 3 or 4 moves, goes gets her water, and comes back, and then
Yeah.
pretty much stays for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
uh,
Every single time. Yeah.
yeah, gets it going with the first few moves, and then quick
So
break.
you're thinking C6 here.
C6 is kind of important, actually, I believe, because you want to secure this pawn in case things open up, but you also
Right.
need to have a good answer for queen to b3, which I think she would play queen b6 in this position.
So it's almost kind of transposing, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ian, but you're kind of in a Carol Khan of sorts.
Mm.
Yeah. If once you do this, once you play C6, right?
Yeah, I think you could say that. Hmm.
Okay.
At least Black's structure is more like a Caro-Kann. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So, oh, here she comes. For sure, C6. I don't know what else. If she just keeps developing this way, then Queen B6 is annoying because you got the threat here, but you start to have a lot of pressure piling up on this.
Right.
We talked about yesterday also in this the last time she had a position like this how the bishop on f5 was a little bit um, there's always a little bit of danger that this knight will come to h4 and try to trade off for it, and you want to get
Right.
h6 in so the bishop can drop back.
Right. That's
And
the
the
other thing that you
and the
said that's
right,
now
yeah.
embedded in my head.
Yeah, the problem is that we're playing a reverse London down a tempo, and so getting h6 in, doing everything we want to do, is just going to take a little bit longer. So if White's aggressive, and this c4 move is pretty aggressive, or at least it has aggressive intentions, it might not be dangerous, but it's aggressive, um, then yeah, we might not be able to do everything we want to do, and some annoying knight h4 move might happen. Okay, she moved pretty quickly. Yeah, she played c6.
Okay. Okay, good.
So Omar, when's your next tournament going to be so we can do some live broadcasts of your games?
Oh man, that would be funny to do it. I gotta pick one. I gotta figure out which one I want to do. We should be coming up on one for Florida here. Like they usually do the Southern Class, maybe in like either July, I'm thinking. The Southern Class or the Southern Classic. It's the same guys. They just kind of change what they call it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah.
So you know what? I'd have to talk to the TDs. I've never seen where you could have that stream set up, but I'm guessing just based on this that these are going to become more and more streamer friendly.
I've seen it catching on as a trend. I mean, this weekend it's not just all the players at the National Open. There's players at um, the Charlotte tournament that they have going on, at a Charlotte Classic, I believe it's called. So we got
Right.
tons of
So doing
streamers
it there too.
online right now
Yeah.
showing all of their games, and even some people that I haven't even heard of before. So it's yeah, maybe it's catching on. It's like a trend. We'll see.
I hope so, man. I believe it grows the game. It provides like Cameron's doing it the right way because the she'll have this not just as content, but as being able to have people, looking at your position, making comments that you can go back and look, and particularly if it's, for in her case, these are the openings that she plays. There'll be ideas and different things she can get from this. It's like having it for all time, and then being able to share that out. So it's like those confessionals we talked about, where that's always there, and it's having that. It's a new way to chronicle the experience, and I believe grow the game. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
I'm wondering, this gentleman's name is Jeff, right? Jeff
Jeff
Anderson.
Anderson. Yep.
Okay. I'm wondering what he's going to do. What you got for us, Jeff?
It also seems like like I think on the first day I was sort of wondering myself, like, if I came to a tournament, how would I feel about my game being, on
Oh,
camera
being
like this?
on camera and somebody.
And it seems like
Dude, man. Yeah.
everybody that
Everybody
she's
seems like they're
played
pretty
is,
chill about it.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
chill. Even like kind of thinking that it's a cool thing and excited. Like, uh, well, actually, the one opponent last night was sort of giving us the evil eye at different moments. That was kind of
He
funny.
didn't like
He
it.
was giving us
He
looks.
he kept looking at us. What's funny is the timing. Like we would say something and he would look like, stop suggesting good lines. Like he like he was it's like he knew.
Yeah,
Like he was upset.
yeah.
Oh,
And
that was
then this
funny.
opponent was taking a picture of us on the
Yeah, he's taking a
camera.
picture. He wants a selfie with us or whatever. Yeah. Jeff's like,
And then
no, I'm completely down with it.
and then even she had another opponent earlier that joined her on a stream after the game for the postmortem.
That's what
So
you were
we,
saying. Yeah,
yeah,
the person she beat was a really good sport, jumps on
hmm
and says,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
right. Even after our loss, he
yeah,
jumped on and they did like a half hour postmortem with me, and it was yeah, it was great.
that's a beautiful thing, man. That's how it should be.
It was
It should be
like
like that. Yeah.
1:30 in the morning my time, but it was
I would
okay.
say it's beautiful for them, less so for you, in the moment. It's the type of thing that you'll appreciate, after you've gotten some sleep and be like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. And I'll never do it again, right?
We'll see. Yeah, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to everybody that's been with us the whole time. Shout out to J Mastermind and whoever else.
Yeah, we get. You know what? Young Chess God has a really good question. Like, do the opponents have to agree to be paired with a streamer, or is there a streamer section? That's an interesting question. I almost think that it's a like, yeah. Would you have to sign something? I mean, I'm probably going down a rabbit hole here, but
Yeah.
you start getting into NIL. Like he Jeff, yeah, I'm pretty sure when he signed up for this, he wasn't thinking, man, I can't wait to have two people I've never met talk about my game as I'm playing it. Like that's probably not what was on his mind.
Well, yeah, and
But as
there's
you start going, I mean, he seems pretty chill about it, but you could,
mhm,
imagine it's when you start thinking about like NIL and those types of things and where we're headed and, his name, his image, his likeness, his game, at some point, it's where does consent come involved in that? That's a deeper
yeah.
question, but it's interesting if this is the way things are going to go for the game.
Yeah, and so far it seems like it hasn't been an issue, but yeah, as it gets more popular, I can imagine there being people that don't want to be on camera, and I think in that case you probably just tilt the camera so they're sort of out of the frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it adds another layer of pressure. It's being recorded and it's going to be up on YouTube or
Yeah,
wherever,
man.
and it's going to be there
Yeah.
forever. How many eyeballs are watching you in the moment? Maybe it's like 10,000. We don't quite have 10,000 people watching right now, but you
But
never know.
yeah, depending on, I think we were saying like Dina's there. She's got a pretty big,
I think she's
following.
in the Charlotte tournament.
Oh, she's in Charlotte. Okay.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean,
Um,
all these streamers have big followings, and um, yeah, you could easily have like a whole ton of people. I mean, we had over 1,000 for some of these games at certain moments. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
man.
uh, it's good stuff.
It, there's a there's a lot of pressure anyway.
Hmm.
And then if you're playing online with as those are the only times I've played stream games, that's a ton of pressure. But like over the board, knowing that it's going out and you don't know how large the audience is. I mean, this is chess.com stream. At any moment you could be featured. It's a yeah.
But on the other hand, how often do you get to play on a DGT board and get feedback? You can go back and look at the stream
Yeah,
later,
man.
and it's a fun thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's great for the game.
yeah.
And the hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Seven were really good. It's Ian. I look good standing next to Ian. That's what that is.
No.
I look better standing next to him. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Hey, there's our queen move.
Appreciate that.
You
Yeah,
just
we
read it.
appreciate that. Yeah, Queen B3 is on the board. That's sort of what I was expecting. And I think the main reply to this is Queen B6. It shouldn't
So
be
you just get the
dangerous
trade
for
out of the
black.
way. You just
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
if the trade, I mean, it might end up that the queens face each other for a while.
Okay.
Just sort of like a standoff, and nobody really wants to take the other person's queen. Because when you do, like, let's just say white takes, the double pawns are not weak. Let's just clarify that. They're not
Mm.
weak.
And
It's very hard to
yeah.
actually win this pawn, either pawn. But at some point, this might trade, and you can imagine this pawn just goes here. We just go here. We even use it as like an attacking piece sometimes.
Mm.
This is rock solid. But we've also opened up the rook.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if white doesn't take it, doesn't move like knight c3, we could maybe take this, but we don't have to. We could keep going with our development. If
Question
black
for you.
takes,
I would say if we take, aren't we doing the
yeah,
same thing?
no, it's not the same structure though because we can't get that sort of setup. We've already moved this c pawn up. It's a little bit different. These two pawns
Mm.
are a little bit more backwards than say our pawn was when it could go and be connected to the pawn chain still. You have to go here to have that same sort of setup,
Got
but
you. I got you.
so these pawns are a little bit weaker, but we do open up white's rook, and it's not so easy to go after them either. Like, how are we going to attack these pawns? I guess sometimes there's bishop c2 ideas,
I like that.
but yeah, it can be a little double-edged though. We go after this pawn, we can sometimes get our bishop into like a hairy
You can be
situation where it
stuck
can't get
there.
back out
Yeah.
again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Because if he moves his rook, I mean, mind you, he wouldn't want his rook babysitting, but it's a to protect. But yeah,
yeah,
you could you could
let's
see
say
yourself in a situation where you're like he's just hanging out. Yeah.
you get trapped or something like this.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a much better move. Oh yeah, in this position there's knight d4.
Oh, you're just doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's
it
it
guards
going?
everything. You can't go back. Now you got to waste of time to go back. And so yeah, you play queen b6 and you sort of just
His weight,
play a
right?
waiting game. Yeah, exactly. Hmm. And you always prefer white to take you anyway. So You're okay with
Got
the
you.
queen trade as long as they take you first.
Got you.
Pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah, she's mulling it over. I think you kind of have to do it though, don't you? Like there's like what else are you gonna do? You're not gonna move that
Well,
pawn.
yeah, you really don't want to move the pawn because it just
Yeah.
weakens this diagonal. And oh, you know what she could consider here, but it's probably not good.
What,
In a
queen
London
c8 or
system,
something?
you might play like knight a3 in a position like this, or in this case, knight a6.
Really? And just give it
Yeah.
up?
Well, the idea is you give it up, but you try to trap the queen.
Ah,
You're not really trapping it here. That's the problem. And this is the other problem with being down a tempo. A lot of times when you do this, you're threatening a fork on the king, but white has already castled. You might still be
got
able to
you.
go knight c2 and take the rook. She might be thinking about something like this, setting a little trap. And the thing is, I don't know exactly what white would play here. Maybe doing something to stop this is possible.
Yeah, I can see
Then
that.
it's a draw
But that likes, oh, okay.
because of actually maybe it's
Oh, so
not.
yeah, it doesn't like did you just give up that pawn there, but then what?
Well, sometimes it's a draw if something like this happens and we go back and forth forever,
Got you.
you know? But in this case, the queen can try to run away to one of these two squares. So
Yeah,
she
that
might have to do something different, like bishop c5 first, just to guard this, and
it's
then
the
try
guard
to
to
trap the
escape.
queen. I mean, this is
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, I don't even know what white does after this move.
I do like and now you can't even take the pawn. I like that a lot. They were asking me what my over the board is. It is 928.
Do they not know that you're Mr. 900?
I would think at this point, people, should know me. Should know that, I am Mr. Dot 900, like Mr. T, but just a 900. Um,
Omar, it's been a
yeah,
pleasure,
the
by the way, doing all this commentary with you. If you guys are not already following Omar on Twitter, you should. I put it in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
give him
Thank
a
you, man.
follow
And
on
again,
Twitter.
man, it's a gift to me. These are it's like getting lessons. Like, how long were we on yesterday? Like 8 hours? It's like an 8 hour
Something like
lesson.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That is exactly what you like. Like that's a nightmare for you. 8 hours of having to talk to me about chess.
No, no, no.
This is my
It's my pleasure. Yeah. Okay. So we have Queen C7. This move is not as good. It's maybe fine, but something that could
Hmm.
be annoying is if White gets the bishop to F4 and attacks this queen, you might have to go Queen B6 anyway, and then it's another tempo that we lose in the opening. Not the end of the world, but the computer prefers White a little bit now. All of a sudden, the other thing is that
Hmm.
it's a little bit far off, but if a rook ever lands on C1, which it likely will once White gets some more development going, there's going to be captures here, and there's going to be an annoying pin on this queen.
Wow. See, these are the nuggets. This is what I'm talking about. Like this is the board vision and this is the strategy that I've got to develop because the I was thinking very much in that space of, well, let's talk about this a little bit, Ian. I think, and you'd have to tell me where this would be capped, right? And I'm thinking now in terms of the amateur's mind, as Andres likes to say, and as he does. Although I think that's more Jeremy
Yeah.
Silman, if I'm not, yeah. So let
Yeah.
me give the credit where it should be. Um, the we I know for me, the hesitation to trade queens is very much in on brand for
Oh, yes.
900 level chess. It's a no, no, no. I need my queen, right?
Right.
Sacrificing the queen to win is scary. Even when I've calculated that it works, I'm still never completely confident. And I can see that when it's puzzles. The other thing that comes up is we don't think, and I'm painting very broadly here, so I don't want to say it's everybody, but more often than not, you just pointed something out that I'm like, man, how many times have I played a move like this, never considered that at some point development will happen, and a rook could very easily end up on the file
Yeah.
where there's a pawn ready to take that goes back to that initial opening move order I was like, I never considered playing c4 here, never strategizing or thinking that there's a possibility that you push d3, you move that bishop,
Yep.
you put that knight somewhere, and now all of a sudden that rook's coming.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't, I don't think that deeply into it from a perspective of what does white want to do. And this is something that I've got to get better at. It's a lot easier to do it sitting here watching Kamryn play and
Right.
going, yes, that's exactly what I would do. But I find that it's hard to get out of the habit. So here's where going with this.
Hmm.
It stems from a place of, I don't want to trade queens. I'm not saying that's her. I'm speaking for me because Kamryn may just have
Yeah.
completely different thought process on this. But I know for me, the reluctance to do that, even after you've shown all the good things that can come from it,
Hmm.
is more of a fear of parting with that piece and having not having a comfort level
Right.
parting with that piece. And
Well, it does
how
make
is
it
that
harder
something
to
that you?
attack. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you? What's the path that you got to where that became more comfortable?
Um. Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Get
Are you ever
comfortable with.
comfortable, or is it
Well,
literally just experience? Sounds like it.
some of it's experience. Like in this position, I know that queen b6 is the move. You know, because it's very common
Okay,
in this particular structure for the queens to be facing each other like that, and then for whatever trades to favor whoever was more patient, essentially. But
got you.
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. There is definitely a fear among players about trading queens, and because they want to keep their queen on the board for some attack that might develop later on. And I think some of that stems from sort of either a fear of going to end games or even just feeling like uncomfortable or not confident in the end games. So maybe the advice I would give for somebody that does not want to trade queens is to tell that, well, first of all, there's plenty of examples where we trade queens early in the game and there's still like a brutal checkmate happens in the middle game. It's still possible.
Mm,
So that's something to keep in mind. But also, I would say maybe study a ton of endgames. Maybe
mm,
get to the point where you're so confident in the endgame that you're ready to go straight to it if necessary.
mm.
You know, like I'm ready. I'll go to the endgame. I'll go to even endgame with you, and I'll outplay you from there. I'll grind it out. You got to be willing to do that sometimes because actually Kamryn has been very willing to do that in some of her games this tournament so far, and which is why I'm a little bit surprised that she didn't play Queen B6. That
Gotcha.
and the fact that
Yeah.
she plays these positions all the time, so she surely knows the idea. I'm very surprised she played Queen C7 for that reason. The only thing I can think of is that maybe she felt like she's had too many of these early queen trades because it has happened multiple times, and they've been serious struggles. The most recent game, she could be still having that game in her mind. The most recent game, they traded a lot of pieces, and the queens came off, and the end game just sort of nobody could really do anything. So the game petered out to a draw pretty quickly. So she might be just trying to avoid
Fair point. Yeah.
keep the queens on in this game and seeing if it makes a difference. You
It's
know,
just like I don't want to go to the end game. No,
yeah, she might be a little sick
no,
of it,
Jeff
perhaps.
Anderson. I defy you. No. I loves wearing, I thought it was I loves wearing a lot. I love swearing a lot. Let me put some respect on their name. This was not a Catalan, but it certainly looks like when we were talking about that earlier in the stream.
Hmm.
I play that and I was like, oh, it was like an out of order Catalan. I know I'm butchering it for those of you that like for those who are opening theory purists. Um, I appreciate you, Ian, not like letting me have that. Hey, I think this is the Catalan, and you were like, okay, I'll let you have that, right?
Yeah, it's sort of started off as a King's Indian attack, and then it went to more like an English opening. And Black played like a Carol Khan setup, which is very
Yeah.
similar to the London that Kamryn plays as white. So it's sort of like a mix between few different things. I don't think it's really following any sort of like mainline theory, but it's definitely no longer a Catalan because as soon as white plays d3, uh, Catalan, you really, usually in the Catalan, you have a pawn on d4 pretty early. And had this happen, maybe you could say it was a Catalan in this position. But anyway, d3 was played.
D3, he's doing your idea.
Yeah, bishop f5 is a little bit annoying if that lands on the board. So I think she'll play bishop d6,
Ooh,
which is what she
yeah.
played in the previous round. I would expect
And then
this
we've got
move.
all the forking. Well, I don't know that it happens now, but the D3 has
It,
been
it
played.
probably doesn't happen.
Yeah.
E4 is possible, but you have to play knight here or knight c3, and you have to play rook e1, and then maybe you can play it. So
Yeah.
so yeah, actually it is possible. Hmm.
Okay, if he plays rookie one,
Yeah.
I could see that. I think just through natural development, the more we talk about it, like that queen sitting there is in my head now. That's
Hmm.
it's in my brain. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I'll be thinking about that quite a bit now. I do that a lot. I put myself in position where it here's what's bad. Here's an interesting thing. Be curious to get your take on this, Ian.
Hmm.
Uh, you mentioned that this is what she plays quite a bit, and I'd bet coin that if this were a casual, if Kamryn were just on her stream, it's a Sunday, she's playing 2+1 bullet. That queen probably goes to B6
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah.
But you get over the board at an event and no, I'm going to do this. It's very easy sometimes to, talk yourself into positions that you wouldn't normally play simply because of the environment and the atmosphere and the more recent games. Um, but I'm thinking about that, like just through normal natural development, White's going to have opportunities. Now, Cameron's one of the best defenders I've gotten a chance to see.
Yep.
So I'm not worried for her, but it's just interesting, like little moves like that. Now that I'm seeing it, they can become long term situations. I'm curious is if that queen move will turn into an inaccuracy later,
It
just
already
based
was
on
an
the position.
inaccuracy. I
Oh,
mean,
it's already that,
yeah,
just based on.
I think if
Gotcha.
you look at the bar, if you pay
Oh,
attention to it,
yeah,
it
the
was
bar is
pretty
already
even
like, no, you
here.
shouldn't have done that. Got you.
Yeah, no, this was. I mean, white has an edge, it's sort of natural at this point. But I think after queen b3, and then when you see queen c7, it goes down a little bit more. See that?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay,
it's
I got you.
not a huge deal, right? I'm not really that concerned for Cameron right now, but it would have saved her some problems later on, which are maybe about to happen with d3 is a good move. That's what I would have played, I think. Maybe d4,
I
but
got
bishop
you.
f4 is the move that I'm worried about, and um, queen b6. You might have to play queen b6 anyway after that, you know? Like
Right.
I think maybe bishop b7. If bishop f4 happens, okay, we go queen b6, we correct our mistake, and we're all good. Yeah. So, but let's see
I'm
what
just
the
responding to
computer
chat.
thinks here. There's probably lots of things. Bishop d6, yeah, or bishop b7. Both moves are good.
Both of
Bishop,
those are fine. Okay, so
yeah.
you're good with it now because of the D3 play. Not as much of a
Well, now I feel like well, no, because of the c4. It's unusual for white to play c4 and e4 like this.
got you. Just almost sort of yeah, creating. I got you. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
what could happen, which actually would be similar to the other round that we looked at in the same opening, although white never played queen b3 in that line, but white did take, and then they did try to get e4 in.
All
In
right.
this position, we could see it. Oh, in fact, it's playable now, apparently.
Oh, okay,
Um,
so he did do that trade.
no, sorry.
Oh, you're just saying like here
She
it could
did
be
play
that.
bishop d6, and it's possible for white to take and then play e4, and this is what the computer is suggesting.
Right.
And we talked about in that game again being down a tempo playing this opening.
Mm.
The danger is that the center could open up and your king is still there. So that
Yeah,
creates all
that's
sorts of tactics now.
yeah. I got you. And J Mastermind, look, that is the nicest thing. I will take that all day. Thank you, sir. Um, or madam, I'm not sure. J Mastermind could really be like, I'm not sure, like that could be anybody. But just thank you. The uh I do feel like sometimes, Ian, that I wish I feel stronger than my rating shows, but I don't always play it. And my play is like, no, you're not. You
Well,
talk as though
I think Omar, if you were to play more frequently over the board, that's a little caveat that I think we should add when you're talking about your over the board rating is that you don't play classical over the board chess as often as many people other people do.
fair.
Um,
Yeah.
had you, I mean,
I've
if
had
you
like
did,
10
I think,
events. Yeah.
yeah, that's not that much. That's still like you're a baby to the chess
Yeah.
world, you know.
Yeah, you play 10 events like in a month
Well,
versus,
no, I don't. I don't anymore because I'm too busy. But at one point, I was doing like 2 tournaments a week, which was kind of crazy.
Wait,
But
what?
yeah, like 1 day events, not big events. But
Oh, okay. I was like, good
yeah,
Lord. How like
yeah, that was my peak when I was working for a chess club here. They would have tournaments all the time, and I would play.
got you.
But I had to play because I was working, and then I was TDing and playing at the same time, and I racked up like an
Right.
insane number of tournaments in like just a few years. So yeah.
I see you say I've got GM level, like General Motors level knowledge. That's what that is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, back to what I was saying about this. I think if e4 is hard to play for white because it looks like you're losing a pawn at first. And let's see. So she pretty much would have to take.
Right.
And by the way, the computer is
Takes.
saying this is just fine, but um yeah, we can take and then
Right.
maybe rook e1 is an idea. It doesn't even want to do that. It just wants to go knight d2, attack the bishop. And we
Yeah.
do get castled in time. However, we give up
Give up
the
the
bishop
pair.
pair,
Yeah.
which we've talked about a lot. In this position, we have an extra pawn. Once again, this is like very eerily similar
It's
to the other game.
yeah.
Like we had a
Yeah.
very similar pawn structure to this. White is down a pawn, but they have a lot of compensation because first of all, there's this knight d4 move,
No, that's
discovered
annoying.
attack on the knight. So
Yeah.
then we have to drop back, and things like knight f5 are annoying.
Very much so.
They could get
Because
rid of our second
yeah.
bishop and have 2 bishops versus 2 knights in an open position with pawns on both sides of the board like this. The bishops are favored over the
Mm.
knights for sure, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
also starting to put a little pressure near Black's king,
Yeah.
and it's not enough to be winning for White. But the fact that Black is up a pawn, but White has an advantage, that sort of tells you everything you need to know, right? There's some issues for Black. We have to worry about the bishop. We need to develop our knight still, but White's coming very quickly with some danger near the king. There's not a specific threat yet, perhaps, but you could imagine this queen zipping across, and well, if the knight ever goes away, the queen gets in. Um, and the rooks come to open files very quickly as well. So White's pieces are
That
going
they
to
do.
mobilize very quickly, and yeah, I don't. I have mixed feelings about this position. I don't see like White's attack exactly how it might materialize in this moment,
Mm.
but it does feel kind of dangerous. On the other hand, if we survive it, if we can repel any attack, we're up a pawn. So I actually don't think that we'll see this happen because White would have to really have a lot of faith in sacrificing a pawn here if
Got you.
if they were to play like this. And this didn't happen. White played knight c3. It's still a possibility for White to take this at some point later on in the game.
He's doing well. It doesn't. Maybe not so much. I was thinking that he was doing the plan we're talking about, but he could still move that rook there to C1 with some ideas taking
Yes,
and so,
yes, I
yeah.
was
He
just
could
about to
totally still
mention
do
that
that.
actually.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just a matter of where does he. I'm assuming that we're going to get Bishop G5 at some point from White.
I'm sorry, bishop to g5. Oh, maybe. perhaps, yeah, bishop g5. Yeah, bishop g5 is possible. Even bishop e3 or bishop d2. Think about g5 or f4 or
Yeah.
e3. None of those are really 100% safe. I mean, this we would just take.
Right.
Although maybe we can't recapture and win a pawn because we lose this b7 pawn. So yeah, actually bishop f4 might even be a possible move for white. But here we might just chase it and say, take me, I'm okay. We'll just take back. Or even knight d7 first and then h6.
I got
Bishop
you.
bishop e3, maybe it gets attacked. So it's actually tricky to figure out where this bishop belongs. Where should it go? So it's a good thing that white's holding it back for now. Maybe he's waiting
Mm.
to get a little clarity on what she's going to do before he decides what to do with it. But yeah, the scary thing, what could happen, which is not super dangerous, but she has to keep an eye out for this. Let's say the bishop goes to d2. Let's do a couple moves.
Yeah.
Bishop d2, and then say like knight here, rook c1. I mentioned this earlier as a possibility as soon
Yeah.
as she put the queen here. I mentioned this rook c1 idea because there's a trade here that can happen at any moment. And
Right.
when things open up, you got to think, well, okay, my opponent, if they take, that's going to be a half open file for them. It makes sense for them to put a rook there. So as soon as you play queen c7, you should, or actually as soon as c4 is made and there's a potential trade on d5, you can already be anticipating this rook move, really, as
Mm.
early as c4. So it doesn't make sense to put your queen on the same file. It's risky. So if you can avoid it, it makes sense to go to b6. And we could see this come back to haunt her a little bit in this variation I was just showing. In this sort of situation, let's just say we create the space for the bishop so it can come back to
Yeah.
here, right?
Yep.
Well, now takes is very annoying because they followed up with knight b5, and this is
Ooh.
serious for black now. In fact, it's winning material. There's first of all there's
Yeah.
a pin here, right? These are the
Yep.
kind of tactics that we need to avoid. And
That's nasty.
yeah, it's very
Wow.
nasty actually because not
Yeah.
only do you lose your bishop pair, but you lose this pawn. Now the bishop can come
Wow.
here, maybe even to b4, depending on exactly the setup.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
it's very
I
unpleasant. This is
Oh my,
hanging.
I like that even better. I don't know what do you think in terms of if you had this position? I mean, it's almost kind of like just dealer's choice. I think the idea of moving it to the diagonal where it could potentially win the rook is
Oh
is
yeah,
even
big.
better. But yeah, but
Hmm.
I'm wondering if from your perspective, is it better to make the threat on the queen, or is it better to
Oh,
actually
this
win the
move.
material of the yeah, is it better to win the material? Because I don't know. Now, this is again, this is me, my 900 brain. I want to take the rook. I want it. And I'm probably not
Okay,
hesitating at all to
we don't do
play
this.
that. But I ask this because is it more advantageous? Sure, winning a rook is nice. Having the bishop pair is also nice. And since we're talking about end games and things of that nature, is it better from a strategic standpoint to simply threaten the queen, force the queen to move, gain time, whatever it is, have the position, or is it better in this setup to actually just take that rook and say, okay, we're we know we're fine. Give up the bishop pair. We're good.
Yeah,
Or is that something I'm just curious? In this situation, it's not always best to take the material because you've got beautiful piece position. And
yeah.
what if you really like that rook's doing its job, but having it may damage you. And you know me, and you know me well enough to know I don't think like this. And I'm shocked. I'm even asking you the question.
Yeah, so there are situations if you have a really well placed piece like a knight or a bishop that it can be worth more or the same as a rook. But the bishop pair by itself is not worth. That's more of a positional advantage,
Okay.
right? And if you want to convert that into something a little bit more concrete, you use your bishop pair advantage to eventually try to overpower your opponent and maybe win material. So
Okay.
the only reason why I wouldn't play bishop f4 or b4 here is because black could block at this moment with c5. So it doesn't work for tactical
Okay.
reasons at the moment, I don't believe.
Gotcha.
So there would have to be something different, like maybe this knight is on b6 or not here at all, somewhere else. Then, okay, it can't be on b6 actually. That would we need our queen to defend the bishop. So okay, if this knight wasn't here or for some reason black can't play c5, and we can go here and force the capture of the rook, I'm doing it every time,
Gotcha.
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much every time. If it's just go here and get our bishop activated and chase the queen for one move with the bishop, then no,
Okay.
I wouldn't do this
It's
over
almost just
winning the
better to leave
rook.
it where it is.
Well, bishop
Okay.
f4 is good, but it's not as good as getting this rook off the board.
Gotcha. And to your point, the block, that's the next thing. That's next thing I've got to consider is the now sometimes again it's good to provoke those, but not in this case. Like if that pawn were somewhere else, if it were, you know, two squares up or something where you're not going to have a blocking opportunity, I'm with you. Like, but I'm trying to get out of the habit of just instinctively playing that move because it wins material, as opposed to thinking through it is am I positionally better um keeping the material. I have a that's the these are the next levels I have to grow in to start thinking that way. Like you did a variation yesterday during one of the games where you're like, yeah, here's mate, and I didn't take a thing. I just moved, and I was like, I sat here like it was like sorcery. You're like, how did you do that? One, how did you get there? Two, how did you resist taking anything? Because I would have taken everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing is you have to be open. Well, when you're attacking somebody, you have to be open-minded still. And
Mm,
everybody struggles with this a little bit because you can sit down at a board and you can get this position that's great for you, and you find like a pretty good move like winning material or something, win a knight or pawn or two, whatever, and then you go for it. But really, sometimes in those situations, or often, you're going to have more than one good move, and you can miss better alternatives if you just go for the first thing you see right away. You
mm.
can miss better alternatives um, if you're solely focused, like we were talking about tunnel vision in the other game, if you're solely focused on just one idea, like I must win this piece, or I must make this trade work, or I must checkmate them. But then as the position changes, there's always going to be new opportunities popping up. And if you don't have full board vision, if you're not considering other ideas, you're going to miss a lot of these opportunities. So it's just sort of training yourself to be patient, to take your time and look around and not make any quick moves. Okay, she went knight b7. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I was
Or
I don't mind that.
fine-ish. The bar doesn't really agree so much.
Huh. Is it because the queen is still on that square?
I don't know. No, I mean that rook c1 variation with the knight coming to b5 that we looked at. That's still
Yeah.
a little bit of a ways off. So why why is the computer so happy with white here? I mean, it's a fine position for white. It's good. I can see why it would give a little edge, but it's starting to be like a full
Yeah,
pawn
that's
advantage at this point. So
yeah,
I don't
that's
really know
I'm looking
why.
at that like what is it that what doesn't it like?
I think this bishop d6 and queen c7 combo is just not quite the best setup for these pieces. I've said this a few times now. If
Yep.
e4 e5 ever happens, it's very awkward for this bishop. And the queen, maybe even
Yeah,
e4
that's
right now is
oh, you know what,
possible.
Ian?
Yeah, but the queen
Yeah,
should be on
that's
b6 as
a
well.
yeah, there that and I mentioned to you yesterday when we were going over this, I was like, I fall into this a lot, and it's usually the queen is where the bishop is when I've gotten caught
Oh, I see. The
in
queen is
this.
here or
Yeah,
something.
and so yeah, the fork I run
You get
into is even
forked.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, don't
That
watch
was
out for
yeah,
that.
the game I was telling you about. I was just white, and that was how I got caught in that situation and
Hmm.
was immediately down a piece. The Yeah, it's that's interesting. Young Chess God made a comment where he's saying that the classical chess commentating is an underappreciated skill, and I 100% agree. I have a new appreciation, and especially for you because you've had to do all the games. That that's not easy.
I
I know when
appreciate
you've gone
that.
to get
Yeah.
like water or something like that, and I've been sitting here, like you should go back and watch the broadcast when I'm sitting here by myself and just kind of like, okay,
Well, you
all
know
right,
what? I
yeah,
actually don't feel like it's that hard to fill the time. Because I sort of treat it as if I'm playing the game myself and I'm just articulating
mm,
my thoughts as the game goes, as if I was playing the game myself. I probably might analyze a little bit deeper, consider some other moves, but yeah, it's just I think that that actually maybe shows the difference between levels is that some players are thinking a lot more deeply in positions about all sorts of variations, and sort of goes back to what I said a little bit earlier. If you get too focused in on one narrow idea, but you're not branching out with your ideas, there's a lot to talk about even in positions like this that are pretty early in the game. There's this E4 move that keeps coming back to haunt us, and maybe taking
right,
here first. There's all these different move orders to consider. There's always knight h4. There's these rook c1 ideas. Where is this bishop going to go? Like, the more you look at the position, there's just so much more to consider in all these situations. There's actually a lot to talk about. We've sort of been looking at some variations already, but even ignoring some things. Like right now, why is this eval bar going a little bit crazy right now? Well, I think
yeah.
it's because after takes, there's e4 again.
You pointed that out
We're
before,
gonna have to talk to Kamryn about this.
yeah.
It's
She
too late
because
for this
you know
tournament, but it's come up twice now.
she plays what, which tells me that it's a this is the system that she's comfortable with
Mhm.
because it's the we're facing these same problems that we saw in the previous game, and it feels more. And we talked a little bit about this too, where we were saying playing a system versus playing what the board is giving you. Now, let me caveat that a bit. One, Kamryn is a system player, but her end game skills and her calculation tell me she's not limited
Yeah,
to the system. Where I think this shows up is in the middle game, which would be true of any player at, I'd say, 1500 or less, where it's very easy to fall into those patterns that are comfortable
yeah.
of this is what I play. I think it's a
Mhm.
particularly if you're playing the London, and I know this. I've been searching for the chess silver bullet for 4 years, and it's like, okay, well, if I get this book or if I play this opening, if I get castled early, if I play d4, if I play this, I play that, and there is no silver bullet, but it's very tempting early on in your chess career, particularly as an adult, to find something that is repeatable. Shoot, we this is why we moved to D4 for me. You were like, okay, it's going to be the same setup either side, either color. And
Mhm.
then that way you just get used to, you can get out of the opening and get to the middle game. And then it's all right, it's just tactics at that point to where you that determine whether or not you're going to win or lose. But all of that to say, because it's repeatable and it's rote memorization versus having to calculate, which comes up more in your end game, it is very easy to find yourself in middle game situations like this where the same problems show up unless
Yeah,
a coach points it out to you.
yeah.
And it's because it's so comfortable playing those systems. And then you find yourself either in losing situations or in situations where you're like, I'm back in yet another uncomfortable end game where I'm having a dogfight, and it's showing up in these situations where perhaps the system is part of the causality of this. Again, I'm
Could be.
spitballing here, but I would
Well,
love to know what you think, on that.
I think that you're right that she's sort of comfortable with this setup. I mean, in this tournament, she's already had it one time and it worked out fine. And
Right.
um, maybe she's had it before. It's very likely that she's had similar setups before. She's definitely had similar setups as White. So yeah, she's doing what's comfortable, but there are some specific details that she has to be more aware of. And maybe White needs to be more aware too, because neither player really got e4 in like this in a timely manner. This is a line, this isn't the current position.
Right.
Um, but they have to be a little bit more open minded and look for ways to break open the center while this king is here. That's what the computer keeps wanting, keeps calling for, because a line like this, if we continue it a little bit more, is quite dangerous for black. Because say d takes, and now we really probably, because knight c3 has been thrown in, e4 has much more venom to it. If
Right.
we take it, for example, um, yeah, apparently there's all sorts of moves here. I was going to say knight takes e4. It's not even the best move. There's knight d4. We saw this tactic also
Right.
in the
Saw this
previous game,
before.
where like
Yeah.
both pieces are now in serious danger, and rook e1 is a possibility with a pin on the knight.
Right.
This is a mess that she needs to avoid. If she takes with the bishop, it's not that much better, because after takes and takes, you're getting pinned,
You're still getting pinned.
and
Yeah.
you're just going to lose the knight. Maybe you don't lose a whole piece if
Could
you,
you could
but
you protect
you're
the
just going to
knight
lose a whole
by
piece.
playing knight of 6?
Knight f6, yes, but the problem is you can try to protect it. I'm just going to go here and I unleash the bishop and the knight on it.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
And
I
also
noticed I
f3 is
noticed
a
the white
threat.
in that bar just felt like a gas
You're
tank.
losing a whole piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you castle though, so like the position is very complicated, because you can actually castle here and it's not the end of the world. White is still better. You're not losing an entire piece because you do get this fork at the end.
Oh, that's nasty. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but still, this is
So yeah,
much
it's
better
a
for white. You have a knight and bishop for a rook and pawn.
yeah.
It's a fight still, but the
But
pawn
this,
again
yeah,
is not
no one wants to
dangerous
play.
here.
No
Yeah.
one wants to play that position as black. No one.
Okay, this is not going to happen because white played a move that is not very good. Probably gives away their entire advantage. They played bishop to e3. Yep, there you go.
Ooh.
Advantage gone for white. There was the one moment where now it made
Uh-uh.
sense to take on d5 and play e4. So
Yeah.
okay, we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief
Okay.
for now at
Pull the
least.
dodge.
I
Now,
yeah. Why is this move?
let
Well, it
let
might
me
just be
ask
to
you.
develop. I think. Remember, I said how white wants to play rook c1. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. This we're gonna connect a whole bunch of things here. Ready? So
Yeah.
we were talking earlier about how it doesn't really make sense to develop the bishop yet, because none of these squares really are very obviously good for the bishop necessarily.
Yeah.
On g5, it can get chased. On f4, it gets traded. On e3, we can attack it with our knight, and it's blocking the e pawn, right?
Yeah.
But white very clearly has in his mind, with the move bishop to e3, he has in his mind the idea of, oh my god, come on, mouse, let's go. He wants to play rook c1,
Yep.
and he wants to take, and he wants to go knight b5. I really believe that he has this in his mind right now, and he's
Yeah.
playing bishop to e3 to make it hard for Kamryn to change her mind and play queen b6 to get out of the way of the rook.
Gotcha.
That's what he's doing when he plays bishop to e3. But and it might not even be a bad plan. It's going to be dangerous for her still. She has to find some active moves and avoid some tricks later on. I think she probably will, but I'm just,
Yeah.
that's what's on the horizon for her to have to figure out. But the thing is, white should have been more aware of opportunities here because black has yet to castle. More sort of aware of other opportunities looking around the board. Probably he's not very used to playing e4, right? But had he done this and gone for it, been a little more aggressive right away, there would have been real problems for Kamryn in this position. Have to work out, and yeah, it was going to be quite difficult. She doesn't even get that position with the extra pawn, where she actually has more material, but positionally white is better. That's not even the case in this moment because knight c3 has been played. Oh my goodness. Really
The
struggling here.
mouse,
Sorry.
the mouse is
Mind
not
of its
liking you.
own.
All
Because the
right.
knight's on c3, now if white
Yeah.
plays e4, they could have played it earlier. Now it's even better for white. And this opportunity just was completely missed by Mr. Anderson and Cameron's earlier opponent 2 rounds ago. So nobody spotted this pawn break in the center, and they're really passing up a major opportunity because they haven't played it. But at least in this game, it looks like white is focused on a very different plan. That's clearly not as good because it's going to take a little more time to build up. And Kamryn can defend; she can avoid I mean, if the rook lands on c1, she can simply play a6, and there's no knight b5 anymore. So it's much easier to deal with this threat than if white had broken in the center right away and tried to punish the fact that she's not castled yet. Now e4 goes away because the bishop's
Yeah, because
obviously
you can't play
blocking
it at
it.
all. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
block
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So bishop e3, it might be fine, but it was a missed opportunity for white. So we're happy. we're, you
Yeah.
know, great. And she can play h6, keep the light squared bishop on the board if in the event of a knight h4 move. She could castle, and as soon as rook c1 happens, though, it will be important for her to play a6. So, like for example, here,
Yeah.
rook c1. I think a6 is the simplest thing.
Just to take away that square from the knight. Gotcha. Okay.
Although apparently it's still possible to get something going with knight d4. Say the bishop goes back, and then, there's still
You play it
problems on
anyway.
this. No, you don't play it anyway. You play knight takes d4. The purpose, but d5. I mean, the purpose for
Ah,
this was to
yeah.
open up the bishop. This pawn
Like, please
cannot
take it.
take,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we can take, but then bishop takes.
Gotcha. And
I
still
actually
can't take.
saw this idea. I saw that after a6, white can't take here and then take here. This is trying to take advantage of the pin. Doesn't work because the knight on d5 doesn't, white's knight on d5 doesn't have enough protection. If this happens, we just take, and this, and we're up a
Gotcha.
piece,
And you're
or
and
up a
you're
rook.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole tactic doesn't work. But what I did miss was that in this position, white has the in-between move, the tempo gaining move, knight d4. The whole point of attacking this bishop is not to try to win the bishop, black will save it, but to add a little extra pressure on d5, and then the tactics do work. White will come out a pawn if they play this. So
Mm.
there's, as soon as that rook lands on c1, there is immediate danger. And I guess the best move is to play queen b8 and just get off of it right away, so there are no more tactics. Whether she plays h6 next or castles, if the rook lands on c1, you just play queen b8. It feels a little awkward to back up. You do block your rook, so it's not like the number one move you want to play, but it does make sense just to, when you have a piece x-raying your queen, even if you don't see the tactics, even if you don't calculate all of that we just looked at, you want to get out of the way sooner rather than later before something happens, before you pay the price,
Right.
Um,
Right.
so maybe if she anticipates rook c1 and then needing to go back queen b8, a move here would be to play not h6 but rook c8 as a move. That way you feel a little
Ah.
bit better about putting the queen on b1. It still helps the
Yeah.
bishop, it still guards the pawn, but you don't
You
block in
got
your
your rook
rook.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, this would be fine for her. But it's delaying her castling. The top move, according to the computer, is to play knight c5. I don't
I was going to
know.
ask you about that. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you about that move, and that because when he played Bishop E3,
Hmm.
and you were mentioning that's going to prevent the queen from ever, changing her mind and going up to B6. My thought was, I'm wondering if it's also to discourage that knight move because the knight move would attack White's queen.
Yeah. Well, it might discourage that. I
But
was
it
I
does
was
kind of take away the tactic that you were talking about too.
uh
Uh even if White were to retreat, coming to like that knight hanging out there like defends that file. It makes things more challenging for that rook plan. The rook on C1.
mhm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot going on in this position if she were to play knight c5. First of all, I'm not sure I would have played it myself. She hasn't played it yet. It's still black's turn, but I'm very eager to get my king to safety just because
Yeah,
of all these
yeah.
pawn e4 attacks on the open e file is sort of still lingering. Like even in this position, if the bishop takes, and we get another version of this, once again with the center
Yeah.
breaking open, I mean that is something that both
I
players honestly should be paying attention for because as long as a king is in the center, even if there's one
yeah,
move away from castling, this is
I
opening up fast, you know?
I admit that Kamryn lives dangerously, man. Having that, like, she likes having that king just living his best life in the middle of the board,
Yeah, she might.
especially as black. Like, she hangs out, man. She will like, nope, I'm good.
I
Need to
do know that
castle.
she values the bishop pair just from the games that she's played before
Yeah,
earlier in this tournament. So this would be tempting because it might be very likely that White actually does go for this trade because there are some
mm.
nasty ideas. Like for example, White has to be a little bit careful that they don't put their queen somewhere like here, for example, and get into this discovered attack, or
Mm.
that
Yeah,
would be very bad for White. For yeah,
yeah,
or for example, Queen C2, you walk into this pin, and suddenly you lose your C4 pawn.
yeah.
Yeah, this would be also very bad for White. So there's some threats that go along. Maybe White does needs to go Queen D1, but you don't really want to do that because you give up your
You
pressure
kind
that
of
you
like
have.
being, yeah, they're like you didn't come there to go back. Yeah,
Your rooks are not connected anymore, and yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't. You should never go back, right?
exactly.
That's not real advice.
Yeah, that's a joke from it's actually one it's for those of you who haven't seen that or heard about that, we were talking about this yesterday. The I've worked with
We have pawn h6 on the board, by the way.
okay, there we go.
Yeah, but sorry,
I've
go ahead.
worked with player with master level player who once told me that he doesn't believe in retreating moves. Like he never moves his pieces back. And I remember like at the time it was I feel like it's more of a hot take, more of
Yeah,
a brag than it is true. Um, just it's a cool sounding thing to say. I think I get the gist of what they were trying to convey,
hmm
but it's more of a it's almost kind of like never resign. The always plow forward sort of an idea, but yeah, the it's 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 just a cool t-shirt. It's not really realistic.
yeah.
Yeah, it's meme chess.
Like there's sort of also this double meaning to it too, in a way. I don't know if that's
Hmm.
the right way to describe it, but yeah, because sometimes players get under attack and they get too defensive. Not necessarily
Oh, that's
even
a
with
fair
just
point.
retreating, but they're just like, okay, I need to defend this pawn as attacked. Let me move my piece over to protect it or move it out of the way or something like that. And sometimes, a lot of times, actually, you can find moves if you just look a little more carefully that are more active instead of just purely passive that do something similar. They defend and attack at the same time.
Gotcha.
So just trying to be more active when you're in danger, or sometimes not necessarily even counterattacking necessarily, but just can if you're thinking about a move, for example, like, oh, my b7 pawn is in danger. Should I play rook b8? Well, why do that when maybe you have a better move like queen b6? I'm talking about earlier in the game. There's
Early game
right now,
before it.
obviously, you
Yeah.
can't do this, but
Yeah.
maybe something more aggressive, not even like super aggressive, just like more active. We get our piece developed. We're not going to be passive behind the pawn, and
Right.
there's more to it than just I'm just going to simply defend this one piece forever passively with my rook. That's just an example, but I do think that it's easy to kind of get into the habit of getting cagey and just now all of a sudden the momentum has shifted too much and you're defending move after move after move until you make a mistake, and then you feel like at the end of it you feel like, well, I never did anything. I never got to do what I wanted to do. I never got a chance to attack my opponent. It's because you got into this defensive mindset too early on and you never got out of it. So
Hmm.
that could be sort of also what he meant. Like, I'm never going
Yeah.
to sort of like just defend. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging type of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. It's more the spirit of it, but it was said so definitively
Yeah.
that he left no room. Like I'm like, wait a minute. In all your games, you never once. And he was like he doubled down on it. He's like, no, I don't believe in it. Again, I think it was just it was a cool thing to say. Would be
Yeah.
would be my guess. Yeah.
So we have Rook C1 on the board.
Okay, so he did. So we have it. Here we go.
Queen
Yeah.
B8 is the best move, and anything else is going to start to tilt in White's favor again. Um, so the threat is knight, not knight b5 right away, but the threat is to take. So let's say we do a move like castling.
Yep.
Okay, castling is really bad in this moment
Oh,
because
apparently, yeah.
yeah,
Good
because
Lord, look at the
after takes
pog.
and takes, there is knight b5, and the queen is overloaded. It's trying to guard too many things. By the way, we cannot take the knight because then the queen goes.
Yep.
That's the point of rook c1. So the queen moves out of the way.
Yep.
Knight takes,
You just
queen
give it
takes,
up.
and
Yep.
bye bye b7 pawn.
Yep.
Although, funnily enough, this isn't even the best move. But at the minimum, we can take this, and it's very dangerous for black.
Yeah.
I guess black can play c5, and there's some ideas of making it life difficult for white in terms of getting the queen back out. Queen can drop back immediately, but there's something like d4.
Yeah.
No, this doesn't feel right. The queen goes away. There's a knight discovered attack attacking the bishop and attacking the rook. This can't be good. This can't be good for black. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is an important moment for Kamryn because there is danger here. I think if she can avoid this, she'll be okay.
Yeah.
But she needs to do it precisely. So castling is no good. Um, if you play a6, which is sort of a typical move in these positions to stop knight b5,
Mm-hmm.
there's a secondary threat which is hard to see. And again, it comes back to the fact that black is down a tempo compared to like a normal London system. Like if it was black's turn in this position, we would castle, or maybe bishop h7 and be pretty safe. The threat
Yep.
here is to take, and we already looked at this, or a version of this, and go knight d4, attack the bishop. But the real
Right.
reason is it opens up another piece to attack this pawn. So the bishop
Mm.
goes away. If
Yep.
it goes away this way, then it's simple for white. We just take. And again, we can't take this bishop because of the pin. In this case,
Mm-hmm.
white's up a pawn, black has no center pawn, and white's pieces are all very
Yeah. This is.
aggressively placed. This is worse than being just down a
Oh,
pawn.
geez.
Yeah,
That's just you
yeah,
can't
it's
take,
just.
and it's a yeah. It's you are in you are in trouble. You are in dire straits there.
Mhm.
I didn't even
So
think about like how that you can't take, and it's a you're going to win that F pawn, that F7 pawn too. Hey, thanks, Travel Mocha. And I 100% agree that there is no silver bullet in chess. It's really just I've learned the hard way, man. It's just sweat equity. That's your silver bullet. It's
mhm.
training. It's combination of many things, but it's I would also say, man, it's patience and setting uh process goals over outcome goals alone. And again, it's a uh I don't have an issue when I say that with outcome goals. I think um I think it's another hot take-ish thing to say that milestones don't matter. I think it's the type of thing that
Hmm.
sounds good on podcasts and in blogs and in books. But Ian, I can tell you this: I saw a post on Twitter X day before yesterday. Somebody that I follow broke 2,000, and I'm cracking up because I literally gave this example on Kevin's pod of
Which, by the way, you
the.
guys follow Omar on Twitter and check out
Oh,
his.
thank you.
I mean, how many podcasts have you been on by now? A
You know what, man?
dozen? Is it a dozen yet?
The the one this is the one where I can call my mom and say, "Mama, I made it." I'm trying to get on Ben Johnson's,
Oh
and
yeah.
Kevin's gonna beat me for saying that because he jokes throughout the whole show. He was like, "I'm not Ben Johnson," and I'm like, "Man, don't do that to yourself." But in fairness, man, nobody's Ben. Ben is he's next level, but that's not to take anything away from Kevin. But it's a that's the one. Perpetual chess, man, is the one where I'm like, all right, I can call my mom now. So, mom, I made it. The but yeah, that's because I don't think he has adult improvement. I might be mistaken, but I think it's more. You're titled nup if you're on perpetual chess. Would be
I
my
don't
guess. I could be mistaken
know.
though.
I think he has. I haven't listened to all of his podcast episodes. I've only done a few, but um,
I'd have to confirm that. In fact,
yeah,
you
I
know
would
what?
have to
I'm
take a
thinking
look.
about it. I think that's incorrect. That's inaccurate on my part. I do think he's had some.
But he
Um,
definitely has more of
yeah,
the higher titled players and chess celebrities. But
yeah,
I think there's some mixture of different, uh, you know, chess improvers on there too. So,
yeah. That's
but
fair.
anyway, the good news is that Cameron avoided all of those nasty variations that we were looking at. White still will have an
Okay,
edge, but they
she just
have.
took.
Yeah, she took. Oh, he's not even at the board at the moment. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, so
he
he's off
did
on a break.
the. Yeah, I played my rook move, and now I'm going to walk away tactically to make you think
Yes.
about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the danger that is coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you feel about that, Sagian? I like that she took just because here he comes. He's looking at other games. Um, I like that she took just because everything else that you were describing was scaring me so much for her
yeah.
that it's like, all right, you're aggressive here, and it's a I don't know that it solves everything,
Hmm.
but it's a I don't know. I just like why wait for the house to fall on you?
Right. Yeah, and this is sort of exactly what I was talking about earlier. Instead of playing like a very passive looking move like Queen B8 that's purely defensive, she's taking it to him instead. And it also solves the problems at the same time. She's choosing the more aggressive approach, which
I like that.
in this case, technically, according to the computer, wasn't the best way, but it's still good. And she's still doing fine, I think. Computer's giving White an edge, but I think that as soon as she gets castled, honestly, then a lot of the danger will go away. She's going to need. Okay, so Queen. The other thing is that White's move here is not super easy to figure out.
I was going to ask you, would you
Pawn
take
takes
back
is
with?
very natural, but Queen takes is the best.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was wondering. Even
And
though you kind
yeah,
of give up your like, here's the thing. I know that he's White's targeting B7 and enjoying that, but take that pawn, keep your structure in place, and you still got the queen can always go back, and then you got all your same ideas, or many of them,
yeah,
that are in play in terms of putting that knight somewhere, and then
or like knight b5,
having
yeah.
that X-ray. Yeah,
Hmm. Right. So the point of Queen c4 is you keep your tactics, your threats alive on the c file. And although now Black could play a6 to sort of
right,
stop any knight b5 ideas, it also creates an imbalance in the pawn structure where now it's, Black gets this open file, White gets this one. Not, not a huge deal for either player, but if White takes with the d pawn, which you might feel natural because you keep a pawn guarding the center. Well, the drawback is now rook c1 has absolutely no purpose. So it would have made sense to
right.
put it on d1. And now we have a almost perfectly symmetrical pawn structure. At least we have 3 versus 3 on this side and 4 versus 4 on the other side. So there's
Right.
not that same imbalance that maybe somebody could take advantage of that in some way later on and like down the road in the game.
He
But
did something. I wonder
yeah,
what he
let's
did.
see. He took with the queen. Yeah, that was the
Okay.
best move. If White wants to keep an advantage, that's the move he needed to do. So the only thing he had to make sure of is that there's no danger to the queen being exposed like this, and there really isn't any danger at this point. Kamryn should just play a6 to stop the knight b5 move forever, and then she can get castled and maybe start to think about expanding in the center. She did play a6. Yeah, that was she played
Okay.
it pretty quickly too. So yes, this is the way to go. I have a feeling this is going to be a long one, Omar. So
Oh
buckle
yeah.
up,
Yeah.
prepare yourself. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
haven't done a lot of trades. We've traded one pawn so far, and we're only on move 11. They've already each of them have used a little more than a third of their time for the first 11 moves, and
Yeah.
things could get more complicated
That's
as we
going the
go.
distance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to go the distance, I think.
Yeah.
But the good news is that I think Kamryn has avoided the immediate danger. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things develop from here. It could probably go a lot of different ways, to be honest.
How do you think it will? What do you think? Well, I guess it just depends. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I guess you
it's
just answered it.
it's
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a waiting game right now, just to see what they do. But I mean, she could castle. She could bring a rook to e8, bring a rook to d8. Maybe just get the queen out of there at that point, because like I said, I don't want to be
Yeah. I don't like.
x-rayed like this with a rook aiming at my queen or rook aiming at my
Yeah.
king. Even if there's 3 or 4 pieces in the way, there's always danger to that, a lingering danger, and one little thing changes in the position, and suddenly they can take advantage of it. So, yeah, I do still want to get the queen out of the line of this rook. Maybe rook c8 and queen back, or rook d8 probably makes a little bit more sense. I want to castle first. That's we're already on move 11, and I always tell my
Yeah.
beginner students, you got to castle in the first like 6 to 10 moves. So now we're past that point, and
Yeah.
it's the center
I
won't be
do want
safe
to
forever,
ask
so she
her.
needs to castle.
I do want to ask her why she delays castling
Well,
in her black games.
well, in this particular game and the other one we looked at like this, White has had some initial threats that she had to sort of answer.
Okay, she would be castling into problems
No, she
more
would be
so.
ignoring problems.
Ah, got you. Okay.
Other problems elsewhere that she needs to deal with first. Like for example, in this position, if she castles, knight b5 might be
It's coming.
coming
I
right
got
away.
you. I got you.
If she castled in this position, d takes
Then
was
that's
going to be a
coming.
problem. So she has
That
to
was
keep responding to these threats. We might be at the point where White sort of is running out of immediate threats.
and then now
So
we can do it.
hopefully
I
she'll be
got
able to
you.
castle in the next move or two. That will be
Got you.
important in this game.
I got you.
Yeah, the delay is not for the lack of wanting to castle. I think it's just there's been
She's
other
like, I'd
priorities at the
love the
moment.
castle, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and it's a little bit hard to see what exactly White's going to do here.
Well, part of the reason why I was thinking that was there's there are some ideas with that H pawn, just given where the light square bishop is, if you can ever, you know, connect them, get the king out of the way or what have you. There's some thoughts, that I have in terms of like where the bishops are pointing and some potential things you could do if Harry could make his way
Oh, you want to go like
up the
this?
board.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
take, maybe push to h3.
That's that. I was looking at that, like
Yeah.
again, given where the queen is,
Uh huh.
like okay, we don't want her there, but I love your idea of uh again, this is me living dangerous. Um, let's say we don't castle, and instead we play something. We develop that king, as I mentioned to you that I would tell Cameron to do it. Um, develop the king,
No,
connect the
you're
rooks.
gonna go king
Yeah, yeah,
e7. No, no,
exactly. Yeah,
no,
get
no,
that king up there, and then march that H pawn up.
no, no,
Let's
no,
watch the
no.
world burn, Ian. Let's
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
Well, you should just say when it's somebody else's game.
Right. Exactly.
um. Okay. So there are times where this H pawn push is possible and can be pretty dangerous. In this game, well, because bishop e3 was played, this pawn push isn't really happening anytime soon. The center won't open up for a while still, most likely.
Right.
Like there's no pawn trades on the horizon in the center. So in a way, king e7, if you're to play this, might not be actually quite that dangerous as it would normally be. That is true. But it's not going to be so easy just to play h5, h4 because first of all, if we get our pawn to h4, maybe white just takes it. So we need to get g5 in
Fair point.
also but we can't do
Yeah.
g5 and h5 because then we lose the g5 pawn. And also on top of that, if we play something like, let's say white just goes something over here, if we play h5, they might just play h4 and shut it
Just
down
block
right
the whole
away
thing and shut
and
it
block the
down.
whole
Yeah.
thing. You're never getting g5 in. You might
Right.
at some point look for some sacrifice ideas. This isn't
You
entirely
already know
without
that's where
merit.
I'm going. You know it.
Yeah,
You know that's
take
what I
this,
want.
get this.
Right.
If the bishop goes away,
Yeah.
maybe you can have something like this where you're
This
trying to
is this is what
checkmate.
I this
But
is
there's
what
a
I
knight
want.
guarding this, and the bishop can go here. It's not enough. This is
Yeah.
going a little bit too crazy,
It
but
just looks scary, but it's not really scary.
yeah. So
Cameron, don't do any of that. Do anything of that.
it's not out of the question, but I would want Black's king to be in a more secure spot, and I would want to be able to guarantee we can go pawn h4, which we can't. So
How horrible in this position would castling the other way be?
pretty horrible.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I have a feeling that White's plan in this position, as it stands with a6, I think White's plan should be a queenside attack
Got you.
because the bishop is aiming in here, because this bishop is aiming here, and we also simultaneously have pressure coming down the file, and a knight on c3 that can hop around and do something. I think White's plan should be to play b4, to play like a4 perhaps, and then b5, and try to break up this structure that Black has.
I'm just looking at it, and it doesn't look like either side is ideal for castling.
Well, castling
Just because
kingside is
of
very
the
safe. It's very safe. It's just you won't be able to do your h5 plan.
gotcha. Okay, so it's even though we've got okay, because I'm just looking at the week the having played h6. There's from just that vantage point, I'm looking at it saying, well, aren't there disadvantages on either side? But I guess to your point, you've got more pieces over there to protect.
You do, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and White's not really set up for a kingside attack either. I mean,
got
his
you.
pieces are over here on the queen side. The best move for White and in this position is actually knight d4. Drive the bishop back. What knight d4 does, it gains that tempo, the bishop needing to retreat, opens up the bishop, brings more pieces to the queen side, and then followed up with like b4.
I got you.
And a4 and b5 is coming, and I don't know that it's really that much better for White necessarily, but it's scary looking. It's scary looking for
I got
Black.
you.
What are you going to do to stop b5? It's not so obvious. Counterattacking in the center is probably the way to go, something like this. But yeah, this is White's plan. E5 is just one move. The knight goes away, and then what does Black do? It's not so clear. Not
Mm,
easy at all. I think it's a little bit easier to play White in this position than for Black, if
I
White comes
got
up
you.
with the right plan. And that's why this is such an important moment for in the game, because he's thinking now for quite a bit on this move.
Yeah,
And I think he's trying to come up with a plan. He's got all of his pieces developed, but now what should he do? An attack
yeah.
on the
He's
queen
suddenly
side is what
behind
makes
her in
sense.
time.
Yeah, he started this move ahead on time by, or maybe like at least
Yeah.
close on time, about the same. And now he's down almost 10 minutes behind her. I think he's trying to figure out what the plan should be from here, because it looks like Black's position is very solid, but the queen side still has some vulnerabilities if he can get some pawn trades happening on b5 with this b4 b5 idea. You need to prepare it with a4, of course, but um, or maybe not even. It's possible that it doesn't even need to prepare it. Maybe just b4 launch it right away.
Mm,
But yeah, it's that's the plan White should go for. That's the natural thing to do. He's
got you.
thinking for a long time, so I don't know. We'll see what he does.
I like your idea for white of queen d4. I'm sorry, knight d4.
Knight d4, yeah.
I like that a lot.
The thing
I was
that,
looking at it the
yeah,
other way too, but
for knight h4.
towards the center is better.
Well, yeah, we might see knight h4 towards the center. The only reservation I would have if I was White is that it can get attacked here,
Right.
and it's also sort of in the way of the bishop, but
Ooh, you know what,
it's
Ian?
nothing super dangerous. Yeah.
I just thought about something.
Okay.
So if we go, if I'm white and I go knight h4,
Yeah. Let's say we drop
right, and
back,
you
right?
retreat.
Hmm.
Um, actually, no, never mind. I saw something that I didn't see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, somewhere in my head, you could still the pawn is if the pawn weren't on h6, um, somewhere in my head, you could still get that bishop because it's happened to me so often when I used to play the bishop's opening. I'm like, wait, you could go there, you can still get it, but
Oh, yeah,
the cubby hole prevents everything that I was thinking that I saw.
that's why H6
So you
is
just
so
coming the other way.
important.
Yeah.
White could come up with a plan here. I was just looking at this position since you mentioned it. That maybe if he comes up with the wrong plan, he could try to attack white on the king side with f4. And I'm not even sure if it's that wrong. You know, it's just maybe not right because it's not the best plan. But this move is kind of interesting. There's an f5 pawn push that would open up the center.
Huh.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's sort of a
Yeah.
weird, like this bishop is weirdly placed on e3 now, but and we can even attack it. The bishop goes back, I guess, or maybe even forwards.
Oh, I like that. You
Which
know
one do
what?
you like? I like
Well,
this.
no, I was gonna say it has to go there because otherwise you're getting forked if it goes. Well, the bishop is always going to protect. It's not like it's
No,
suddenly
actually,
you'd
the
have to move
bishop.
it somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the bishop needed to go to d4 actually because in this position you actually pay the price immediately for f4 because it moves like queen b6.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so some attack like with f4 would be a little bit premature for white if they aren't careful. You get this knight coming in
Yeah.
on f2, and might as well show it while we're here. Everybody should know what happens if white goes king g1. You want to do the honors, Omar?
Oh man.
And that happens like
You
put you on the
are
spot.
Jeez. Yeah. All right, so I believe it's knight h3 check. He goes back, queen g1 check,
Yeah,
takes with the rook, and then smothered mate goodness.
classic queen sacrifice,
Yeah.
smothered mate, rook has to take, and then we go knight f2. Yeah. Okay, so maybe white shouldn't try this. Yeah. Okay, he has moved, so let's see what he came up with. And the move is rook fd1. Yeah, it's just
I don't mind that.
developing. I don't mind it. It's
Yeah.
fine for white. It's fine for black. It's no big deal. Kamryn can castle now and be pretty happy. She can also play e5 if she wants to get some space in the center, but let's just castle first and then worry about pawn pushes. um,
Yes.
but the thing about rook d1 is it's sort of, and the fact that he spent more than 10 minutes on that move, it says to
Yeah.
me that he was having a hard time finding the best plan, a more active plan. So he's saying, you know what, I'm just gonna. Maybe he was even calculating something specific, decided, oh no, it doesn't work, so I'll just move my rook to a good square.
I just got to just make my find my pieces that isn't doing anything and get them involved in the game.
Yeah, maybe he wants to play
Yeah.
d4, although he could have played it without the rook. So this is a little bit of a mysterious move. It's sort of one of those moves that looks nice, like the rook can't be bad on d1, but what is the real purpose of the move? Is there some sort of active plan that white has in mind, or is he just trying to get this rook to a square that's not f1? And I don't really understand this move. It gives up any sort of chance for the
Yeah.
initiative that white could have had.
I don't think he's got, to your point, I don't think he's got any plans to move that knight and attack that bishop.
The knight from f3.
Yeah. It's if you think about it, again, you correct me if I'm off, and this is me kind of throwing stuff out there, Ian.
Throw away.
Typically, I I'm saying this from how I play this particular fianchettoed bishop position, the King's Indian attack, Catalan-ish. It rarely occurs to me in classical Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. In classical, I might come up with something like this because I got more time. But
She has Castle. Thank
okay, okay,
you.
thank
Well,
good, yeah,
whew.
yeah. Cameron's just yeah, again, king living his best life. The but typically I like that night is just hanging out. Like once he's there, I'm thinking about other
You mean on
pieces.
D4 like this?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
he's like I don't typically move him. He kind of
yeah.
just stays in place, and then he doesn't really get involved until we're late middle game.
You might.
Queens are off the board.
Oh, you
Like
mean
it's
yeah?
a
You might get attacked
yeah.
in
He
this
usually just
position
kind
too.
of yeah.
So.
That night just kind of hangs out unless he's attacked,
Mm,
And so it's not surprising to me that he would centralize his rooks and say, all right, let me throw the question back to Black because I don't know that uh, everyone who, again, at least for me, again, I don't want to speak for him. I don't know him and how he calculates and so forth. But typically, like that night, I almost don't consider it. And again, this is why this is super educational for me because I'm realizing I'm leaving money on the table.
mm,
There's like I'm rarely, and this goes back to our talk earlier about give what is the position offering you versus what's the next move in my system, and I think that that's uh, a problem for players, particularly at my level, maybe even slightly higher, of middle game planning. And what
yeah.
do I do once and you see this more and more, I would argue, at their level where your opponents are really good at protecting their stuff. Like Kamryn's not going to blunder this position. It would, if there's something that comes up, it's going to be later in the game. And it's
Yeah.
very hard to to strategize and say, okay, well, now what? I mean, we saw him, he's doing it now. He,
Yeah.
in the last two moves, he spent about, I don't know, close to 20 minutes, there about 15 at least, trying to figure out, man, what do I do? Because Kamryn's super solid. She's very, the structure's good, very defensive. And it's to his credit, at least he's giving himself opportunities to try and find something, but moving that night might feel scary if it feels unfamiliar,
Yeah.
even though
It
there's
does
stuff
feel
there.
unfamiliar, doesn't it? Yeah. Um.
Yeah, if you don't do it, and I know in these positions, like typically, if it's Catalanish, I'm really only moved like once the gambit isn't accepted, and she took on that pawn, so he's out of book, out of his space of okay, now I
Yeah.
know I typically do this, I do this,
Yeah.
and now it's chess, and
Now it's
it's like,
chess.
oh man, what do I do?
Now it's
I don't
chess,
know.
and she has a 15-minute advantage on the clock at this point.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
thing is that I was also going to add to that, Omar, is that he spent all this time trying to figure out what to do, and he ended up playing a move that honestly he could have spent 30 seconds to play this move.
that's a
Just
fantastic point.
could have spent 30
Yeah,
seconds for this. So he thought for all that time and didn't come up with a plan or something aggressive against Black. That's a really good sign for Kamryn if he doesn't have a plan. And if like see now she played a very obvious move. She just canceled. He should
yeah,
probably have anticipated that, but here he is going into another think right now. I think this is going to come back to haunt him as this game goes on because I said earlier this is going to be a long game. And
yeah.
I think Kamryn realizes it because she's made some quicker moves now, the last few moves. So she's still
Mhm.
got 2/3 of her time left. And I mean, we're only on move
And that's
12.
telling.
We're only
That's
on move
very
12.
telling for Kamryn, who again we joked about it earlier. She would use every morsel
Yeah.
of her time. So for
So,
her to
yeah.
be ahead on the clock is I have not seen it yet. This
So
is the first time.
she should milk this when you
Yeah.
realize you're playing against a player that will sort of overthink things and use a lot of time. She should definitely
Mm.
milk this and not go for any complications. She should just play solid for now, improve her position. She can be a little bit aggressive, but don't go crazy looking for tactics where you don't need to because you save that moment. You make things complicated when he's down to like 10 minutes or less and you have lots of time to figure out the details of a position. So,
Gotcha.
if she can drag this out, she should. just to try to get him into even worse time pressure. It's not bad now. It's kind of bad because if you I always recommend my students divide up their time into thirds, third for the opening, third for the middle game, third for the end game. He's almost down to his final third for the end game right now. And like I said, we've only traded one pawn and we're on move 12.
Wow.
So if
Yeah.
if you watch his clock and it ticks down to 30 minutes, if it goes down below 30 minutes on this move or on the next move, there'll be some alarm bells going off in my mind
Yeah.
for his time pressure situation. And I think Kamryn can pay attention to that and say, you know what? I'm going to limit trades. I'm going to limit anything that makes things um, too crazy while he still has time to figure things out. And I'm just going to try to drag things out. She can go into a mode now where she just plays some simple moves like rook c8 and rook d8 and queen b8. Nothing super aggressive yet. And then try to change that once he's down low on time, 15, 10 minutes, start to be more aggressive and attacking, get him on the defensive then.
Mm.
And that's when he's going to make mistakes. If she goes for something now that's very aggressive, um, it still might get him into bad time pressure, but I would just try to save it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
rush
Yeah. Yeah.
anything here if I were her because he still has time if they get into some complicated mess, which has happened in her games so far. It's been like even, and then inevitably something happens and suddenly there's some chaos on the board. Um, I think she tries to stay in that even phase for now. She got most of her pieces on the third rank, just sort of. You don't want to be huddling and passive, but you don't need to
Yeah.
make anything happen yet. You want to time that. And I'm only saying that because of the time situation.
Yeah. Like the he's battling her and the clock now.
It's battling the clock. And by the way, the time control, just for everybody that may be joining us, um, is 90 minutes with a 30-second increment. So, there's no second time control. Like you hit move 40 and you get an extra 30 minutes or an hour added in. This is it. This is all he has. It's possible to gain some time back with that increment, but to be honest, you're going to be feeling the pressure when you have 30 seconds or a minute. You still have to write down the moves. And then
Oh
if
wow, I didn't
Kamryn
even think about
decides
that.
to
Yeah.
decides to put the pressure on him and find ways to be aggressive, that's where the mistakes are going to start to happen. So yeah, if White gives Black a very clear opportunity to attack him, if there's an obvious thing that she should go for, she should do it. But if she's sitting in this position, there's nothing obvious. White's pretty well protected. She shouldn't go for complications deliberately yet. I think she should be patient and just waiting because now this is the second move in a row where he's tanked, and if he like ends up playing some move like a3, like, you can play that
Yeah.
move in
So
10
yeah,
seconds. You
like
don't need you don't
yeah.
need
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
minutes. So he might be seeing some. I don't know. Maybe there's something tricky he's looking for. I just don't see it. There is knight d4, bishop back, and maybe he's trying to make knight b5 work. This is the only thing. Maybe this knight to b5, the same fork.
Oh, that loves it for black.
Yeah,
The
it just
engine
doesn't
does
really
anyway.
work because we can take after knight takes. It works maybe after this, although I guess still it doesn't work. This is the only thing that I could think of that he might be calculating. It looks kind of nice, but he's down a piece here. No, this isn't playable. He got one piece back, but he gave up two knights to do this. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. Um. Well, the real plan for white, you could play knight d4, but the real plan is this b4,
It's
b5
just
pawn
start pushing
break.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and but again, there's no risk playing just b4 right now. It's something you can play kind of quickly, and then Cameron's going to be the one that has to think about how dangerous is b5 to her. But this is something you play fast. So I'm thinking he doesn't see b4 ideas at all, and then yeah, it's
Yeah.
difficult to know what to do. So we're almost to 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
well, I'm nervous for him to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cameron's
Now
ahead by more than 20 minutes at this point. So
and that's again we talked about it like that's I've not seen that. Like in the games that you and Nate did, was she always behind on time?
No,
relative to her
there
opponent?
was most of the time. I think it was even, or she was a little bit less. It was never
Okay.
a huge. There was one game where there was a big disparity, I think, but there was also, I think maybe it was the first round where she was ahead on the clock from start to finish, and she usually had
Okay.
like a 10 or 15 minute lead. So it was mixed. Um,
And
okay, we
Jeff
have
has
a move.
moved.
Yeah, what did
Yeah.
he come up with?
What?
Knight e4. Okay,
Okay.
knight e4. Okay, I mean, again, like maybe you spend 5 minutes on this move just to make sure it's safe, but I think
Yeah.
he's struggling to come up with a plan here. And for Kamryn, I think because of his clock usage, we keep things simple and just back up the bishop to e7 is probably what I would play. And I
Yeah.
oh, you know what? Maybe his
Hmm.
idea is after bishop e7, he has bishop f4. Is this dangerous? Not if we can play e5.
Now if you play that, yeah.
What is but it's complicated. Okay, maybe this is what he was spending so much time on. Because in this position after knight takes, we are in a pin, and there's this d4 move. But wait a minute, the queen is hanging also. Yeah, this is kind of a mess. Um, you can't actually play d4 because of the queen being hanging there. So,
Right.
what is going on? Uh, computer says just queen c3. Okay, but then we can we can defend. I think what d4. Oh wow, oh, well, I forgot that we won a piece already. White had to sacrifice a piece to get to this, so they're just getting their piece back. It's not that bad. We just play f6. They can get their piece back, but now,
Now what? Yeah.
well, there's a check. It's just one check. This bishop's going to have to retreat.
Yeah.
This is fine for black. This is fine. Okay, so but that's very complicated. It could go a lot of different ways. Um, Kamryn should maybe she should think a little bit here. It's not necessary to play bishop to e7. We could also just take on
I was
e4.
gonna say, is there a world where we just take that knight?
Hmm. Yeah, maybe with the
But do
bishop.
you take it with the you keep your knight and take with the bishop then?
Yeah, because the bishop isn't really
It's not really doing anything.
a great piece. There was always these pawn e4 ideas lingering,
Yeah.
and we're also just blocked by this pawn. So it's sort of like maybe we just take with the bishop. Because if we
Yeah.
take with the knight, they gain a tempo on us. So that's not really what we want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess apparently we can't
Plus
even
with
do
it.
this. Yeah, it's actually this would be a way for her to blunder because if we
Oh,
go back,
yeah.
then there's pawn e5. No. Oh, you know what it is?
Hmm.
Well, pawn e5 might. No, okay.
Yeah, all
There's knight
that's
takes is actually
yeah.
fine for black. No, you can't do that. I was thinking bishop takes and then rook
Right.
takes d7. This would be good for white. That
Yeah,
rook
yeah.
capture on d7 distracted the queen away, so now we can recapture on e5.
Yeah.
This would be good for white, but no, we can just take with the knight in this position. The real problem is that both of these pieces are weaknesses, and white can double.
Yeah.
You can't save both.
Yeah, I don't like
Okay,
that.
so she does need to not take the knight with the knight. That's important. She can take it with the
Okay.
bishop. And after pawn takes, maybe now we move the bishop, or maybe we play e5 is possible.
Right.
Or apparently we can just move a rook. Bishop e7 is possible. We can move a rook to c8 or rook to d8. Or, yeah. There's not a threat here, really. And white has sort of given themselves double pawns. They have the bishop pair, but they do have these double pawns. I actually prefer this for black. I know the computer says that white's a little bit better, but I'm thinking long term to the fact that we're going to have 3 versus 2 on the queen side. And in a king and pawn ending or very simplified ending, that could be a decisive advantage for black. We get an outside pass pawn or something, and then we win using that. So I'm not sure that this pawn structure change is obviously an improvement for white. Kamryn does need to be careful though, because in this position, knight takes would be bad to let them gain the tempo. She needs
Right.
to be willing to give up the bishop pair. That's the best move. But there are alternatives Like, for example, remember how I said she shouldn't go for complications? Something like
Yeah,
knight d5's avoiding some trades and just blockading the center with the knight, and puts a little bit of pressure on this bishop. I like this move.
I like that move a lot.
Yeah, if then White decides to save the bishop, we save our bishop. We did no trades. We keep the pieces on the
Yep.
board. White's going to be thinking a lot. This move, knight d5, gives White something to think about. Should he allow this trade of bishops? In which case, he's going to end up with doubled pawns in the center like this. Probably he shouldn't go for this. Yeah, I think if she doesn't just go for the trade, because if you take on e4, White has to take back, and that's easy for White to
Right.
figure out, right? So
Right.
maybe knight d5 is the move. That this is the move that, even if it's not the best move, it's the move that's going to make White think.
Yes.
And let's get him under 30 minutes, and then that last half hour is going to fly by. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity here for her to play on the clock a little bit, but
I like moving that knight to the center. Would you ever go knight g4?
maybe,
Okay.
yeah, that's a similar. It's a
Similar
similar
thing because
idea. Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking my logic there is, I mean, it doesn't work, but I was like, you could come back
No, it may
with
lead to
it.
something very similar. But the main difference that I see is that this knight can be chased pretty easily.
Right. I
And
was thinking
on
if that
d4 it
knight
can't.
wasn't on
On d5, I
f3,
mean.
then I like it even more because you come back and you gain a tempo on the queen. But that knight is there
Well,
on f3.
you can maybe do
But you
this.
can, yeah, you could get rid of that knight, and I don't hate that.
I think we, but
Yeah,
again, like we can do this, but it might lead to some trades, and actually
yeah,
knight
it's
f6
not
might also lead to trades. So maybe yeah, this is interesting. We can do this, and the queen will have to move, and it's sort of like we just made 4 or 5 moves just to trade off one set of minor pieces. And there's still like a lot going on here. There's still a lot
right.
to think about. So the dust has settled from that series of tactics. And then White's going to be back in the tank again, trying to figure out what the plan should be, you know?
Yeah,
But 94, okay, this is important because it did set a little trap. She should not take with the knight and do like an even trade. She should be willing to give up the bishop or do something else. This is the one move that she probably cannot do. So I'm glad to see her spending some time here, actually.
yeah,
It's important to react to this correctly. There's some options. Most of them are probably just fine. Like bishop to e7, keep this bishop. If she overvalues the bishop pair, again, the problem is she's going to lose the bishop pair potentially after the bishop goes back, and then queen d3. This is a very nasty tactic. So the bottom line is she doesn't want the d file to open and to give White a chance to double up like this. If she takes with the bishop, the d file does open, but the difference is this knight is protected.
right.
So even if it was White's turn here and they played queen d3, we just move the bishop out of the way and that's it.
Yeah,
No big deal. So this is much safer for her. I think she sees that. I think she'll see it and not take with the knight. It's a matter of picking between a couple other options that she has. So yeah, it makes sense for her to think here. It's an important moment. But hopefully she moves before she gives away her whole time advantage. That's the one thing.
yeah.
Um, I would like to see her maintain at least like 5-10 minutes lead. In my head, if I was playing this game, that's what I would do. I'd say okay, it's an important moment, I should think, but I also want to make sure that I try to leave myself this time advantage that I've sort of been gifted. Just because it looks like this will go the distance, and that extra time is gonna be invaluable when we get into something even more complicated than this potentially. Hmm.
I'm thinking about alternatives, but no, what you have is perfection. Everything else would to me would be like hope chess.
Well, knight g5, g4 was a good
95,
idea.
yeah. I like
Knight
moving
d5.
that knight, which is Man, that's hard to it's a hard thing to consider or to find. I'm glad she's taking the time
Mm.
because I'm like the gut instinct on for me is, oh gosh, here come the nights. I'm scared. Take it. And so taking a moment to take a
Yeah.
breath and
Right, right,
say,
right. Don't
what else do we
panic.
have?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't leap at shadows.
Maybe if you
Don't
go
overreact
like
to the ghosts.
even a simple move like Rook D8 might be
Yeah,
possible
just kind of
here.
throwing the question back.
Yeah, and White can take and maybe okay, White gets the bishop pair, but it might not really be so bad at all.
Yeah, when I think about what's the
Yeah,
worst
this would be fine.
that can happen,
Hmm.
the if we do nothing, at most we trade some minor pieces. And yeah, now that this is again hugely educational for me because I uh am still learning how to see in squares, to see in files,
Mm.
to see tactically and positionally and not checkers strategy. And it's he who dies with the most pieces doesn't always win. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Um, right, and the big question for Cameron will be if I take this and the pawn structure changes, the D file comes open.
Yeah.
Do I pay the price on the D file now all of a sudden? I mean,
Yeah.
actually, now that I think about it, maybe White had this plan when he played Rook D1. Maybe this just wasn't just an automatic move. I think he might have had this idea in mind when he played this.
Makes a lot more sense
It
because we
makes
were like,
sense,
wait a
yeah.
minute, he could have played that immediately, but
But
no,
it also is
he was
confusing
deep diving.
because why would he spend so much time on the following move, right? Let me see. How much time did he spend? He spent 13 minutes on Rook to D1. And
Yeah.
then when Cameron did a very natural move and castled, he spent another 10.
Yeah.
So, it's that's a
Very
little bit
possible that
weird,
he didn't
but
have it and then had it. Like,
maybe.
huh? Oh,
Yeah, you
wait a
think
minute.
maybe he
Oh,
put
wait,
his
I can
rook
do
on this
this.
square
Yeah.
without a plan of how to open it up, and then he was like, "Well,
Yeah.
now I got to open it up. So how can
Now,
I do
yeah, I got to open up. So how do I do
that?"
that? Yeah.
Maybe.
And now it's like, hey, I might have something. Yeah.
I just threw this move Rook D1 out there. Now I got to figure out how to make it work. Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
why. Now, more likely he had it planned, but hesitated for something or was double checking his lines from before. The thing
Oh, he's
is,
looking at us. Yeah. He's like, I knew what I was doing. That was what that look was. Questioning my lines, know what I'm doing. Right.
yeah, the thing is, if she just does a calm response and doesn't go for the complications, if she goes for no
Mm.
trades on the night, which she should realize, hey, I don't want to open this file. I mean, White wants that obviously because that was his previous move. I mean, she might call his bluff and take with the bishop, fine, but she can very easily just play a move like knight d5 or bishop e7 and try to avoid some trades, but also avoid opening up the rook. You just don't want to even risk opening that at
Yeah,
this
I was gonna
point.
ask you, like, moving that bishop, if because again, none of she's precious about him.
Bishop e7, yeah,
Moving the yeah,
right.
that yeah, that to me feels yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, like I'm thinking about all the other things. Again, we're going back to our, I don't ever move back. This would be a case, where I'm gonna move back and I'm gonna throw it back to you. But I
Yeah,
think
this would
she's
be
considering
yeah,
all the
exactly.
things.
Yeah, this would be
Yeah,
the simple thing to do. That again, maybe she should have played this move after like a minute or two. And now she's in the tank, and her
yeah,
time advantage is still good. It's 8 minutes, but we're gonna have a mutual time pressure situation here,
yeah.
and maybe just I don't
Listen, I'm
want to
here
say how
for it.
many moves
I'm
from now.
here for the chaos
Yeah,
on the board. I'm
but
here,
we're only
yeah.
13 moves into the game.
I like it. I like it. I want the smoke from both of them.
I
Like
mean,
I'd want, yes.
we could have time pressure for like 40 moves. It's not crazy to think about that. Yeah. Okay.
I want to see, like, I can say this, man. Kamryn has some entertaining games. Oh, and I think she retreated the bishop. I think she just
Yeah, there
moved
we
it.
go. Good. Okay.
There you
This
go,
is what I
Kamryn.
said. So she's managing her
Yeah.
time nicely. Oh, do we have a move from White? Oh, very fast with bishop
Oh,
e4.
oh, okay. Okay, I see you, Jeff
Yeah,
Anderson. I
yeah.
see you. He's like,
He's probably
what?
realized. Okay, I spent a lot of time on those two moves. I gotta pick up the pace a
Yeah.
little bit.
He's
um,
like, you move your bishop, I'm coming.
But Kamryn can, and yeah, this is a little bit irritating, but we can simply go here. She
Yeah,
can,
because you said not to move that pawn up. It's almost like he wants it, right? He
well,
looks like he's trying
yeah,
to evoke that.
this
Yeah.
would this would this would be. Oh, she moved already. Wait, no,
Okay,
sorry.
so
This did this happen? 94. Oh, sorry. I went into the variations that we had from before. He's still thinking. He hasn't played bishop f4.
oh, okay.
My mistake.
I was like, man, that was
I
quick.
well, he
You
in a way
coming.
like he
Yeah.
needs to move quickly here. He needs to put
Yeah.
pressure on her. Bishop f4 would make her think a little bit about where the queen should go. Although I think she spent a lot of time considering going back, but maybe she had this move in mind immediately, but hesitated because of the bishop f4 move, which looks dangerous. I mean, anytime your queen gets attacked, you need to
Right.
make sure you have a way out. And just queen b6 is simple enough. So she probably was just making sure if I go back and my queen gets attacked, am I okay? Am I safe? I don't
Right.
know what she'll play in this position. E5 is possible. It's the best move, or one of the best moves. Queen b6 is also possible.
Do you just go back? Do you just chase it if you do that? Because then we're talking about repeating.
Queen b6. Yeah, that would be clever for white, perhaps. Yeah, I don't think it would be safe for black to grab this pawn because of rook b1 ideas.
Right.
So yeah, you could see some sort of perpetual threefold repetition like this. That'd be interesting. Um,
Yeah, because I don't think that there's if you push, what happens if we push e5? I know you went over this. I just want to,
yeah,
I
let's
may
see.
need to see it again. Yeah.
E5, then we have takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not an obvious move, by the way. If the bishop goes, okay, yeah, if the bishop goes back, for example, then suddenly
Yeah.
black takes the edge, and I think it's simply because this position we have a pawn in the center, white has double pawns, we're attacking the queen and pawn,
Yeah.
and everything is protected. And suddenly, like this bishop is very bad, and this bishop's not even really doing anything. These squares are all
Yeah.
guarded. So, like, yeah, I feel like black's pieces suddenly coordinate really nicely, and she has some
Yeah.
space. So she would like this. Um, but apparently white would need to find knight takes e5. It's not super easy because there is a threat on the queen, even though there's a pin. This is the type of complication that she does not want at this point
Right.
because white still has time to figure out what to do. And so we really want to avoid this, and the moves are not easy. I mean, this is actually dangerous for white though. This is something you want to go into when white has like 5 minutes left, maybe, and you have like 20
Right.
or 30 minutes to work it all out. Yeah, white would have to play queen c3 apparently, and I'm cheating with the computer here because um, it's really not obvious what's happening. First of all, if d4, now I'm not cheating with the computer. I guess we take the queen, and after it takes, we pick up this extra piece at the end. So now we're up two
Hey,
pieces. Or,
cooking.
oh no, we're
Yeah.
up one piece because they can take this, but we're winning. We won a piece in that whole mess of trades. So okay, the point is the pin looks very dangerous for black, but d4 hangs the knight. So what they have to do is not attack the knight with the pawn right away. They have to go queen c3 and build the pressure on it first. Um,
Do you, man, because
what?
I'm almost wondering, do you clip the,
Oh, knight fg4. Oh, I thought the computer
yeah,
was
you
suggesting
can't,
this knight go here, but and lose the queen. I was like, this computer
what
is
about,
telling me all sorts of stuff.
what
No,
about
it's
knight
really knight
d5
here.
here?
Knight d5. Yeah, knight d5. The thing is, queen takes is possible.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you're,
But here's the other thing: white's better only because they managed to win a pawn. After all of this, they've won a
right.
pawn. Yeah, okay, he has done a move. We should probably go back and see what
Yeah,
it
so what's
was.
he done?
Bishop e7. He did go bishop f4, and now the
Okay.
best move
And
is
now
e5. But
we're in that, yeah.
I really think that Kamryn should try to drag things out a little bit longer and just play the safer move, queen b6, because this e5 stuff is really
It's
messy.
spicy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she can play e5, but she's going to have to use 10 or 15 minutes to figure out if it works or not. And
Right.
then she's going to be the one with less time and in pressure. She could play queen b6 relatively quickly, and even though it's not the top choice, it still would leave plenty of things to happen, but the moves won't be obvious for white. If you play e5, I guess the moves still aren't obvious, but queen b6 is like an obviously safe move. She can do it without any worry, I think.
She did move the queen. I think she went to a5 though.
A5 should also be safe, I think.
And avoids the perpetual. Well, not necessarily.
Doesn't love it, but
No, it does not.
I mean, a5 is usually pretty safe for the queen. I'm glad that she made this move quickly. That's the good thing, because you don't want to spend a whole ton of time calculating e5 to play a move like a5, queen a5, which is relatively
Right.
simple, you know. Um, but yeah, what's the problem here? Why is the computer so happy for white? The only thing I can think of is that because we moved the queen away, d6 is weakened a little bit.
Yeah.
E5 sort of tried to repel white's pieces, but now white could try to come in, and I just don't know how dangerous this is. This is probably the reason, because there is a threat here, and if the queen was on b6, maybe the queen b6 move was better than a5 for the reason that that pawn stays protected.
Right.
Um, I don't know for sure, but this looks a little bit annoying. There's a capture here, there's a capture here. If we want to stop it, we have to give up our bishop one
Right.
way or another.
And then you're having to move that rook.
Yeah, that doesn't seem
I
so
mean, it's not
bad.
horrible, but yeah, the
She should just go for this. I mean, if white plays their knight in like this, she should just trade, play rook e8. I guess white has some positional advantage here because this bishop is actually pretty annoying.
yeah,
Maybe there's like a no, there's not 95. I don't know. White could start to push the pawns in the center, I suppose. That's another thing we'll have to watch out for, but
right.
nothing seems really dangerous. No, this looks fine. I mean, white. I can understand an argument to be made that white has an edge here. White's rooks maybe are better. White has the bishop pair, but there's no like tactical knockout blow where black's losing all of a sudden. This is a fight that really could still go either direction at this point. And she can get this bishop out of here. She can get rook d8, she can move the knight away somewhere, and then the bishop will have to retreat. I think it should be okay for Kamryn. But that's if white even wants to go knight d6. I don't know. It seems like the natural move. I could see them going bishop d6. This is the other option. So he is thinking, and he could be debating between these two moves. That's kind of the nice thing for Kamryn is that
Mm,
maybe we're about to see white go into the tank again here and debating whether to go in with the bishop or the knight, or some other moves might be possible. If this happens, and here, yeah, I would have liked to have the queen on b6 guarding this pawn. Now we might have to go passive or play queen back to b6 just to save the b2 pawn and allow a knight trade for
yeah,
the
I'm saying,
bishop.
and that's coming. Yeah,
But that's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world at all.
because essentially you get to that file with the rook first,
Yeah, we can get rook
even though he's
e1.
got some. Yeah, it's not terrible.
Not at all. No, this is very playable, I think. And yeah, I could see him really struggling in this position to figure out. He might sense that his position is better, but be unable to find a knockout blow and be sort of unsatisfied with either move into d6. And then maybe he starts to think about other ideas, but I just don't know that there are any other better moves. Let's see. Knight d6 is the best. Bishop d6 is okay. It's good for white. Knight d4 is an option. Man, all these knight hopping moves in the center that are
The
just
problems.
kind of
Yeah.
messy. Yeah. Um, but besides a piece landing on d6, nothing is really giving white a big advantage. So we'll just have to
I
see what he
like that
does.
knight move to d4 just because it's going to force the bishop back,
Yeah, maybe we go back. Maybe we don't do
and
anything.
I
We
could
could take
I
this
could see
knight.
some. Yeah.
We like if we take this knight now, nothing can come into d6. So he might also be thinking, "Man, I want to jump into d6. It doesn't really work right now. I want to save it for later." But he can't
Right.
because
You
we
could just
will take the
take.
knight
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we just go back even.
But I was thinking here, the um I wouldn't mind sacking that knight for that C pawn.
Well, yeah. If white gets low on time, I could see them getting desperate to try to make something work and sacrificing. Like knight takes c6. Well, you're not going to get enough in this position.
No, but it's a I oh, okay, and I'm looking at the eval bar telling me how much it hates what I suggested there.
Look,
But it's
I've
a I'm just
noticed,
thinking
yeah.
like it's a um I
To,
like where the rooks are. It's
uh
a yeah, it's just
well, yeah.
I'm
I
just
mean,
thinking positionally, it's
that's something.
a no, go ahead. I was just again, I'm just throwing out there like I kind of, I know that it's you're not getting as much that you want, but um from a positional standpoint, I kind of like it having those, but he's down so much on time that I don't think that it would work out in his favor. He just complicates it.
It's more of a. It's more of a just why give up the material now? You don't need to.
Fair.
Why sacrifice unless you're trying like you're trying to force too much to happen with that. The sacrifice that I might be interested in would be knight takes e6
Taking that. And then
because after it takes you do get the two pawns, but you get a check and you're attacking some of these pieces.
eh,
But you would have to have some sort of good follow up. Rook f7 saves the bishop. There is a pin, so this seems more dangerous. But there's just not a way to attack this rook again.
got you.
So and then the next thing that happens is this queen will come across maybe here or here, and force the queen to trade or run away. And then
And then
what have you
what
gotten
you
for your
get.
sacrifice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the. I could understand also your temptation to sacrifice on c6 because you start to open up the rooks,
Right.
but you really don't get enough to justify it. If it's just this, you're really opening up black's rooks as well. Something like this
That's a
could
fair
happen.
point.
Rook b8,
Yeah.
rook
Like, no,
b8,
it's
maybe.
like, so
Yeah,
thank you very much. I got
yeah.
you.
In fact,
Yep.
I just go rook b8 in a position like this, if nothing else. And now this bishop no longer has targets to hit. Okay, maybe I just don't go. Oh, it's not safe.
I
Okay,
didn't see it.
we
But
don't do that. Oh, he's moved.
yeah.
Okay, so queen a5, and he went bishop d. He did go in with the bishop. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
This was not the best move. Knight in was apparently better. She could go back
Hmm.
queen d8. I think this would be a very reasonable move. Queen d8, and the knight will never see this
Never
square.
gets in there. Yeah.
Because if bishop takes, fine, we've traded bishop for bishop, but how do you get your knight to d6 now? That was what was
Right.
annoying in the previous line. Now you don't get it in. Okay, she's up 11 minutes. I think we keep things simple for now. Get the queen in here. Maybe. Can we go rook e8? This would be the other somewhat tempting move. Because it is hard to come out with the queen and then on the very next move back it all the way up. You know? Maybe rook e8.
The more you have that there, the more I like it. Hey, Neil Bruce is in the building. Hey, Neil.
He won't see that for another 15 minutes somewhere, but I'm sure he'll appreciate the shout out. Yeah. Um, yeah, so maybe
I
bishop
keep
takes,
forgetting that
rook
this is
takes.
on time delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's not like immediate. I'm glad you wrote to him.
Knight d6, and then see, if I was Cameron, I'd be a little bit nervous about this move. I don't love this trade, and defending this can be kind of awkward. Apparently,
Hmm.
black can play knight e5.
That's what I was thinking. Could you play that? Could you do it that way?
You can play knight e5, opens up the rook to defend. That's a
But
nice
you're,
detail. The queen guards
oh, and
this,
the
by
queen's
the way.
there. Yeah, I would say,
Hmm.
yeah, never mind. The
Hmm.
queen's there.
But
Okay.
this also allows more trades, simplifies the position, which only helps him
Yeah, I would
when
say that
he's low
helps
on time.
him. Yeah,
So what we do is, one trade is probably inevitable here, but we want to do the follow up that doesn't lead to even more trades. So that's why queen d8, and after bishop takes, queen takes.
he's got to think
There's no knight
again.
d6.
Yep.
He's gonna have to think again about what to do. Yeah, exactly. And maybe it whittles down to under 20 minutes, and then it whittles down to under 15 minutes, and then we're in business.
Got you.
At the same time, we can't rely too much on the clock. We have to play good moves. So Kamryn thinking here is probably for the best. But there's a variety of moves that are fine. Bishop takes d6, queen d8, rook f to e8, all would be fine.
Okay, so you don't even mind just taking the bishop there and letting the knight come in.
Yeah, I don't mind it because this bishop is not super great anyway. So if we trade it, it's not the end of the world. I didn't
Got you.
really mind the doubled pawn situation because at least we get this open file for our rook.
Right. And like the whole like her his excuse me his rooks are they're the pawns are in the pawn is in its way,
Yep.
and the whole thing he's been wanting to do is get that D pawn out of the way, and this
Yeah,
just
doesn't allow
can
it. Yeah.
like he still has to figure out how he's going to do it,
Yeah,
like
and
all the things that we were looking at.
this is another moment where you'd have to really stop and think to figure out what to do because it's not
Yeah.
obvious what white should be trying to do. This is still rock solid. So, and both rooks are blocked, like you said. This rook blocked by the d3 pawn, but stop that. Come on.
I was like, if
Yeah,
only it
if
could go
only.
there, right?
And this rook is aiming here, but it's really blocked because it's not really that
Yeah,
effective. That pawn on c6 is well protected. So
he could double.
yeah, but to what
I'm
end?
almost
Like
wondering if
you could have 100 rooks doubling on this pawn, and you still
still won't
wouldn't
get
want to
through,
take
right?
it.
Right.
They still wouldn't make sense materially to take it. So yeah, go ahead, double your rooks. On the other hand, we could double our rooks, and this pawn is not protected by a pawn. So
Right.
that's a little bit of a different story. If the white plays e3, that's a similar to what we had in the other game that followed this opening. But it's a little bit unnatural. The d3 pawn maybe becomes weak. Maybe we get some tactics like what Kamryn did in the other game. Remember the sacrifice on e3 that she did?
Right.
That's still lingering in my mind. Maybe we get some pressure and a sacrifice on f2 or e3 and we break through on the king. It's possible. Um, okay, bishop d6, she's thinking, but yeah, there's plenty of options for her that doesn't really change the evaluation much. Bishop takes or rook e8. These are the
Oh,
moves
true.
that we were looking for. Honestly, she probably shouldn't debate them for too long. She should just make a decision and do it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
her advantage is starting to whittle away there.
Yeah, it's down to 6 minutes. I think it's still nice, a nice little lead, but honestly, both players have used a ton of time for where we are in the game with 15 moves
That's
played. It's
incredible.
it's uh, it's almost getting reckless. Yeah, reckless.
I kind of want to see the time go low and just see what they because
Oh,
they're both
it's
such
gonna go low. Just stick around.
they're
Yeah.
they're both so positional,
Yeah.
and it's this dance, and the only thing that's going to make them get more aggressive is like running low on time.
Mm.
And I'm kind of just like, yeah, give it to me. Give me the chaos.
Let's switch
I
to
want
the
Cameron to win the chaos, but I want the chaos.
yeah. I'm gonna take a really quick break and be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to join me or not, or stick around on the stream, Omar. But whatever
Yeah,
you
you
want
know
to do is
what?
fine.
Let me do the exact same thing. We've been sitting here for like
Yeah.
close to 3 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
We will be right
Yeah,
back.
sounds good.
Yeah.
We'll leave it up so the move should update, but we'll be right back, everyone.
Okay, I see that bishop takes c7. Okay, so she took the knight and allowed the bishop to take, so she's got to move that rook. Hmm. Or does she give up the rook, take the knight? Hmm. Does she take the knight to save the bishop or to save the rook? I'm thinking that's the case. And we got a little chaos on the board here, man. We
What
we go
happened?
away, we
What
go away for
happened?
for 5 minutes, and we got chaos.
Well, I just sat down and I was a little bit stunned.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like, we leave her for 5 minutes, and the
All right.
chaos ensues, and I wasn't here for it, and it's upsetting to me. Um,
This is the chaos that I was hoping for her to have when White was in big time trouble.
right,
And
which
now
she
it's
now
flipped around
is,
a
it's
little
just
bit.
flipped. Yeah,
So that's not a good sign, but let's see what's going on. Let's back it up a little bit.
yeah. So
Oh,
she
she took
took
on
that.
e4. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
think
she
about
took
that.
that, and I'm like,
Oh, man.
okay. Yeah,
Okay,
that's I did not see that coming.
look, despite the what we've been talking about, how you want to milk the time advantage that she had,
Yeah.
it's still like even though she had like a 15-minute advantage, she was also low on time. So even with that 15-minute advantage, like you just can't make things complicated because that's where mistakes are going to happen. And she has
Gotcha.
had like in at least two of the other games moments where she tried to make things more complicated than they needed to be, and it's backfired every time. So hopefully this is not one of those moments here, but it's a very risky decision when you're low on time to create these complications. So let's see. Bishop takes
She took the
e4.
other night, and I feel like you almost have to in this position and give up the rook, or at least it gives you an opportunity because I don't think you lose the rook, but potentially you do because that's the only way I think she can get compensation.
Well, she could have gone bishop d5 and attacked the
Uh,
queen. What was
yeah,
happening?
yeah.
She took the knight.
I didn't think about taking the queen because then
Why not?
or at least threatening the queen, because you can still get the knight.
Well,
Not that
yeah,
you
I'm
would,
not
but
really. Actually, you know what the problem is? Maybe the bishop gets trapped. But we can play rook here. The bishop can take. Rook there is a mistake. Okay. Yeah, because at the end we get trapped.
got you.
Uh huh. So I can see why she's spending a lot of time. This is all very complicated. Black, no, the rookie there is wrong, but there's something.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
now we
she took
take.
that.
Maybe
She
your
took
move.
that knight.
Maybe
Yeah,
now we do take. So we throw in the attack on the queen. Then we take. This is similar to what's happening in the game. So, but the other option though here was to play this maybe rook e8,
right.
which the computer hates
Ooh,
completely. Okay, but it's not
but
obvious why. What's the reason? Um, well, there's takes, and if we take, we're down a piece. Okay, that's the first things first.
okay,
And if we take here, well, if bishop takes, we take this and we're probably fine. Yeah, this is fine. But white has something else in this position. Oh,
yeah.
there's
I'm
an
like,
in-between move. There's bishop c3, attacking the queen. And you save your
huh.
queen. Then I take this bishop and white's up a piece. Yeah, that's a sneaky move. Okay. Well, it's really walking on a knife's edge here for
Yeah,
black. Um, okay, the game went bishop takes f3. And is he thinking or has he moved? He's thinking now. And they're both pretty much level on time at this point. And what is going on exactly? I still don't quite understand it. Okay, I mean, white can take this, but then we take this, and this is good for her. So this is what she's hoping for. The reason why it's good is we're just up a piece, right? We've taken
Yeah,
a whole bunch of things. We like eliminated white's entire army, and they can take our bishop, but we take theirs.
yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so that means that he can't actually take the rook, and it's actually better to take the bishop. And once the
I
rook
think
moves, save this
think he
bishop
I think
somewhere.
he took it. Like they're going now.
Uh, he took on f3, yeah. So this is the best thing to do. And
Okay.
after rook moves, we're gonna have this bishop will move away somewhere, maybe to b4 or a3, or back to
Right.
d6 might even make sense.
I
And
like that too.
it's two knights versus two bishops. I don't think the bishops have a huge advantage here because there's not a ton of open diagonals, or it's not a very open position. It's sort of open, but there's a lot of pawns on the board. Things are blocked. Like this bishop's not aiming at anything. This
Right.
bishop is aiming, but is aiming at empty space. So I think this is pretty just level, actually. Okay, I came back and I panicked because I was not expecting to see this position on the board.
Right. Like, yeah, I'm
The
like,
second I
like,
walk
man,
away,
Ian, it
fireworks.
it was your turn to watch her, and this, what happened here, right?
Yeah. Like I literally sit down. I was like, wait, what? What am I seeing on the board here? This
Yeah,
can't
I
be
came
right.
back and I'm like, wait, what?
Well, it's because
I like it, but
I didn't even
wow. Like,
consider it because I was looking at some simpler ideas, like what if we just protect, or queen d8, or even if we just take, and you know she's bringing the fight to him. At least this is again another one of those examples of not being too passive and playing
yeah.
actively against somebody. Um, but that comes with a lot of risk in this position because this is very, very complicated. At any moment, white could take or take. You have to calculate a lot of different variations, and you have to be sure that you can take this, and you have to know what happens if white takes with the bishop or the pawn, or if they take here, and you got to make sure there's no in between move where your queen gets attacked. Like
Ooh.
I wouldn't go for something like bishop to e4. So Kamryn is braver than me. I wouldn't go for this unless I had like spent a good 15, 20 minutes at least thinking about that move, and like a good hour on my clock still to be able to figure out the complications afterwards. You know what's going to happen is, what is happening. This is what's on the board.
Okay.
Is we're now going to transition into like we're like on the edge of an endgame. Probably it's you could make an argument that this is already petering out to an endgame, but there's still going to be a lot going on with the battle between the two knights versus the two bishops. Like who can make the best use of their imbalance, and could be a lot of moves left to go in this game.
Ooh. And
Hmm.
oh, she already played it. Okay, so she protected the rook. Um,
Yeah, she played rook
let's just
e8.
say he plays I don't know, just a I kind of want him to leave that bishop there. Um, like if he makes a random pawn move. But where'd he go? I think he did move the bishop because I want to fork that queen and bishop with the knight.
Oh, you want
But
to
I
go
don't know
here?
what he
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I want that very much. But I don't know what he did. He did something, but I was like, it doesn't work if
They
he.
took
Oh,
the
he
knight.
just took.
No, it's a bad idea.
He's just like, I do what I want.
And I don't even really know why it was bad. I mean, I saw the bar go, but I didn't really need that to be able to tell you this. Um, yeah, if anything, 95 is an interesting idea, Omar, trying to just trade for this bishop.
Yeah.
I think the priority for black would be to trade for this bishop.
So just straight up take it with the rook if
No,
he doesn't
well, I
get it
mean,
out of
if
there.
white lets you, but no, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
if we had we have a preference, I think. If we're going to trade one knight for one of white's bishops, we want to trade it for the dark squared bishop.
Interesting.
The reason is because,
Yeah, like why is that?
yeah.
What is what am I not seeing?
Well, the reason is because the weaknesses in black's position are not the light squares, it's the dark squares. It's the holes in the position. Remember we were talking about holes?
Yes.
So like no protection really here except for the queen is doing all
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
So the bishop will have, even if white just put the bishop on d6, and it would have been irritating there, you know.
Yeah.
Or if you can
Because
back
I'm
it up
like,
to
yeah, all my
b4,
ideas and things that I want to do, it doesn't work. You can do that. Yeah.
it's
He just straight
forever
gave it up.
it's
Yeah.
forever aiming through here. Yeah, that was the one bishop that white should have preferred to keep. And this bishop is shut down by black's pawns in
Yeah.
the
He's not
center.
really doing anything. Yeah.
The pawns prevent this bishop from going
And that
anywhere or
bishop
really
had
threatening anything.
potential to be very annoying, even just to get a tempo. I got
Yeah.
you. I
Yep.
got you.
Yep.
I'm with you, sir.
But probably white decided the opposite, the reverse,
Like, I don't need
because
this. I don't
no, he
need a stinging
probably
bishop. Right.
yeah, he probably did it because the pawns are on light squares, and he's thinking maybe later on my bishop can attack those pawns.
Like
But
this. Yeah.
that's
But yeah, just to straight up give it up.
somewhat unlikely. Yeah,
But
this
you know what
helped.
though, man? Knights are scary. I've told you this.
They are scary.
I'm scared of the knights.
Yeah. White has sped up
this
quite a
this
bit, by the way.
this feels uh I don't want to call it desperate because he's
Before.
not desperate, but it's I feel like he's gone from taking his time to just with almost no thought trading that bishop. And after you gave that explanation, it's a this is he, Jeff isn't striking me as the type of player, just having watched him play, of somebody who would not methodically. It's almost like he went from having a plan, having no plan, improving his pieces, coming up with something, not loving the plan that he came up with because I think Kamryn shocked him with the take. Like, I don't think he saw her being aggressive in that moment.
Oh yeah, on
So
e4. Yeah.
now these things, man, I just know from how badly I play. The inaccuracies, they start to snowball a little bit. And again, Jeff, no disrespect for you to you. I have a national master and I have a bar, and everybody's a GM when they're not playing. All right, so I have played like this where you're just I just need to take something because I'm sick of I've been here for 4 hours. I'm tired of looking at these positions and these knights get on my nerves. I'm scared of them. Like that feels like that kind of a take
Yeah.
where, and then when you follow that up with the B pawn push, which quite frankly probably should have been his bishop. Think about how much more effective his bishop is sitting there. It's doing the same thing that his bishop could have been doing, and you still have a knight doing protecting the king, doing and simplify things for Kamryn. There's a lot less thinking she has to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. At some point, I'm probably moving that rook to D8. One of them.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's possible. I think now actually I sort of realize why he
Why he took?
decided to
What? Yeah, what
give
did
up
he
his
come up?
dark
What do you
square
think?
bishop. Well,
Yeah,
we had been talking about this idea of playing b4 and a4 and a minority attack essentially on the queen side earlier.
yeah.
And for that, this bishop is great. So he's going back to that plan now. He's finally doing it in this
Aha.
position, but it's not as effective now. So he probably thought, you know what, if I keep my light squared bishop, I can try to do this queenside attack. And he's right. If he accomplishes b5 and trades start happening, the bishop suddenly is powerful. Okay, so
Yeah.
this tracks with his last couple moves. I think he's come
Okay.
up with this plan ahead of time. He also made b4 pretty quickly, but here's the problem: Kamryn can just play queen b5, and she's done it.
I was gonna say, yeah. I'm thinking you do that, trade them, get them off, and then,
Well, white
well,
should not trade. White definitely should not trade. If white takes this queen, then we go here, and this is a
oh
big
yeah, and
problem.
it's a yeah.
Now Kamryn would take control of the game if this happens. So, and I'm not sure that Kamryn necessarily wants to take this queen either and open up this rook. And also the two pawns here would facilitate a b5 move. So she probably is just content to leave the queen on b5 and not take. If white takes, great. Maybe the best move is queen to back up to b3 and try to play a4. But the problem again
Mm.
is we have if we can do this, I think maybe she can be a little more aggressive here, not just be passive. But the threat is to play a4, but she can play a5 herself first. And yeah, actually have some threats on this pawn.
I'm wondering what he did. It's still even.
He did do something. Queen c5. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but a5 is still a move potentially here. Actually, I'm not so sure about that because now a5, queen takes queen, and the bishop does open up.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah,
avoid
we don't
that.
want that. Yeah.
But she can sit still. Okay, now a4 is not imminent.
Yep.
I mean, knight d5 is possible. If we get a trade like this, we're starting to head towards an endgame pretty well. We are in an endgame now, but this
Yeah.
trade only helps black. Now she has a pawn in the center, and her rook is opened up, and the
Hmm.
whole queenside attack is busted. So I think that maybe knight d5 is a pretty nice move. There could be other moves here as well, like a rook d8. But there's
I like
nothing.
that
There's nothing
night
to worry
move
about. Yeah.
just because it just, for the reasons you just pointed out.
She could also attack the queen. Maybe that's an idea.
I like that too.
You want your queen on c5? Go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you go in, then I bring my other rook across, and now I'm threatening to move my knight away and attack you again.
Yeah.
This would be sort of a misguided way for white to play. Maybe technically fine, but white's not making any progress here. All right, queen c5 seems like there's plenty of moves here for black, but also the position is just even. Computer likes rook a to d8 the most. That makes sense
I
as
like
well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this move too. If then she plays knight d5 later and the bishop takes, you also have the option to take back with the rook.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't think he really wants to trade queens. I think
I
he's
don't. No,
offering it
definitely
because I think
not.
he wants to be taken as opposed to, um, to actually take.
Apparently, e5 is also a move, which makes sense trying to shut down the bishop. Actually, I'm not even
Mm.
sure that that's really what black will do, but just gaining a little bit of space in the center can't hurt.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay. The time situation for both of them is really, really dire, though. It really is because they're both under 20 minutes. And again, we're only on move 20. They both started moving faster, though, so that's the good news.
That's incredible that this is literally 20 minutes into the game and that
20 moves,
that's wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Or 20 moves rather.
Yeah, I
20
mean,
moves
the
into
good
the game.
news for
Yeah.
Kamryn, she's a little bit lower on time at this point, but the good news is we have done a lot of trades, so maybe things simplify a tiny bit here. Um, and yeah, without all those pieces on the board, it's hard to see any like really complicated, uh, anything really complicated happening in the next few moves. 97 is what she did. I think that makes sense.
Okay, so she did that. I like that.
Yeah, she's banking on the fact that this knight might be better than the bishop. That's why she didn't go knight d5. I suspect
Mm.
because she's maybe thinking this bishop can't really attack anything the way the pawns are set up. So she's avoiding any pawn moves. She's going to try to tell white, say, get your queen out of that c5 square. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I dare you to take
She would
because then you
love
just
this,
you
right?
free up my rook. Yeah, please do that.
White's never going to take the queen with the queen. They're going to move it
Right.
somewhere. But you have to be really careful when you're running around the board with your queen. It's easy to get into trouble before you know it. Like queen d6 is safe, but feels very risky because of this move, and then maybe like a 95 move is coming.
Mm, I
Something
like
like
that.
this.
Like it.
Yeah, we try to go just take this pawn and ruin white's pawn structure. You can see this d3 pawn could become an isolated pawn. It's
Okay, it's back to her. What did he? Okay, so he did do
queen
that.
c3. He
What
went
did he
back. No, he
do?
went queen c3.
Oh, he went back. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess this move makes sense. What do we do for black in this position? That's the one thing about knight d7 is that now the knight is slightly awkward on d7. Is no longer really doing anything there.
Yeah. I was looking at uh 95, but I don't it doesn't really do anything. He just moves the bishop.
Right. Yeah. Now we go knight e5. There's no discovered attack on the queen. We go
Yeah,
knight e5. The bishop just draws back, and
just
I
retreats.
mean maybe we can do it, but then again we get to this position to figure out what to do all over
Yeah,
again.
now you're guarding that. Now you're worried about that. I almost feel like you could just go back.
Maybe.
You could just go back to f6.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could also maybe play queen a4. I'm interested in this move to
Oh, okay.
prevent
You're attacking that,
white ever.
and
Well,
yeah,
what I'm a little bit worried about is a move like queen b3 and then a4, and then white
yeah,
is getting somewhere. But if we play queen a4 first, I don't see
yeah.
how
It's
they
never
ever.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't play queen b3 now because these pawns are awful. Um, and I don't see an easy way for white to dislodge this queen either. Well, the pawn is. We're not threatening to take the pawn. That's important. If we take, there's rook a1, trapping the queen. There's no retreat that's safe.
no, there is not.
So maybe white can actually try a rook left idea. But it's a lot of moves, and by the time you get rook a3, we just go back here, and you still can't play a4 because your rook's in the way. So queen a4 I sort of like because it puts a lock on the queen side. It's just saying you're not moving any of your pawns now, and any plans you had to try to break open the queen side, just it's not going to happen. So now white would be back to the drawing board in this situation.
Gotcha.
Knight b6 was what she did. Okay,
Okay.
similar. Like there's just no way a4 is happening. And knight d5 is a move. She could have played it in one move earlier, but it's possible in the next move even. I like this move. It's a good move.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it for all the things that you just pointed out. Yeah, that pawn push is never happening. It locks things down as you pointed out, and have the benefit of d5 coming if she chooses to.
By the way, Kamryn's back up on time all of a sudden. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the 30-second increment. With
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
30
yeah.
second increment, you can make a couple quick moves. All of a sudden, you got 2 more minutes added into your time. You know. So
Okay, so I don't hate that for white. He was like, I will push my pawn. I will do it. Do what I want.
there's also a
Yeah.
very big threat. There's a threat to play rook c5 and trap the queen.
Ooh.
Oh, it's not quite trapped actually. There's queen a4, but it's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah.
Kamryn could play knight a4 maybe to stop a rook c5 idea, but then the knight is sort of out of play as long as it stays here,
Yeah.
and I don't feel super comfortable with that. The queen has to stay guarding it, but you do sort of stop everything over here, like you really do. I think that's a little bit risky though. Eventually, what happens if the queen gets attacked? Like e3, bishop here, somehow get this
Mm.
move in, and the queen gets attacked. But like you'd have to also protect the bishop. There's a lot of moves white would have to do, but maybe they have time to do something like that because the knight is sort of like black is kind of stuck here.
Mm.
I think maybe knight d5 makes sense to do this move now. Let's see,
Yep.
knight d5, and if bishop takes happens, we're pretty happy to open up this. Once again, we saw something like this a little earlier.
Yep.
A4 is possible,
Still
driving us
coming,
back,
but we
and
get out.
this
Yeah.
is possible as well. But here's the thing: let's just ignore the threat on e2 right now.
Yep.
If white ever gets b5, and I think we're just taking. Oh, we can't go c5. I wanted to play c5 maybe and avoid this, but we can also just win the
Ooh,
pawn. This
I
is
like that.
possible.
You know what I like too, Ian? Um,
There's this.
letting all that happen, taking with the rook because you've got mate threat. If
She,
he were,
oh yeah. You're talking about like if the rook comes
hmm
here, and yeah,
yeah, if you in that variation,
yeah.
if you've got that rook there,
She
and
did
you
play
have to
knight
move the queen
d5 by
down.
the way, and she played it relatively quickly, so she's staying a little bit ahead on time by like a minute. It's not, with 30-second increment, a 1 minute lead on the clock is nothing, but we'll see if he stops and thinks here at any moment.
Yeah.
Then he's going to be under a lot of pressure, so he has to keep pace with her basically. Okay, we're not threatening to take on b4. Oops, I almost said we were. Yeah, that's a little trap. Queen takes b4 loses a piece because if bishop takes knight guards the queen.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
that's
So,
it's good to know.
yeah. So this pawn's not really being threatened right now. Well, the knight could take it.
But then, well, yeah, I guess it just could.
Um,
You could take it and go back.
yeah, it's not without risk. Let's say there's some move knight takes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we can get away with this. If the rook was here already on b1, we probably couldn't get away with it
right.
because, oh, like, let's say, well, I don't know, rook b1 would have to happen, and then we have to, like, if we did some, I don't know how to make it work, but I was just thinking in some cases, if the rook was here instead of the queen, like the queen was back away, no, not even there. I don't know. If the queen was somewhere else, like this pin is annoying, we lose the knight because of a3.
Right.
But yeah, maybe we are threatening to take it. I don't see how white could exploit it.
I think you just take it and go back, and
Oh, he
then
took the knight. He
you'll
took
have a.
this is happening. Okay, this we looked at this
Oh,
line.
yeah.
That's
Okay,
nice for
so
Kamryn for two reasons. That
yeah,
she's able to take back really quickly. She already did and didn't lose any time. She's opened up now a threat on white. Like finally, there's a threat on white's position.
yeah.
I do
I
feel
want to
like she's
take
been
that.
responding to threats this whole time.
I want to take that and go queen b6 so bad. I want
Yeah,
it. I want that. He won't fall for it, but I want it. I want it.
yeah. I
Give it to
wonder if we'll
me,
see
sir. Give it
e3.
to me, Jeff.
I have a feeling we'll see e3.
Okay.
And
Ruin
then the
my.
main plan for white is to play a4.
Yeah,
But they do
but
have to deal with
playing
this first.
e3 first. Isn't it hilarious that in both these games that e pawn that push of the fork threat
Oh yeah,
we
earlier
talked
with
about it.
e4, yeah.
It never came into play. And E3 is the resulting
Yeah,
pawn
it's on
push
the
in both
pawn.
games.
Yeah. I think now might be important for Kamryn to play a5 to
Mm.
to just destroy any hope that
Yeah,
white
just
has that
any
minority attack. If a3 happens, we just take, and maybe we
and
even try to go after the b4 pawn a little bit,
yeah, we're
double our
just
rooks this way,
yeah.
and get some annoying attacks from the side with our rooks coming in on the a file. This I would
She might
like.
have done it. I wonder what she did.
She hasn't moved yet, I don't think.
They
Oh, now
both
she
just
has.
wrote.
She went
Yeah.
rookie 6. Yeah. Maybe it's
What is
okay, but it's the wrong plan.
what is this? What do you think she's doing in on this? What's she doing?
Well, she might be getting ready to meet a4 by just going back.
Okay.
Because now a4, this is what I would play as white, and I might just try to play b5. Doesn't like it. Why doesn't it like this? Because this is a typical minority attack idea. I guess you're pinned, actually. So maybe I can just play rook a5 and try to just win this pawn. Yeah, I guess it doesn't actually work. But if
Oh, that's why she did it. For the rook. For that purpose. To protect, I guess, add a defender to
maybe,
C6.
yeah, like in a
That makes
typical
sense. Yeah.
situation, you might get this backwards pawn, and it's nice to have the rook already guarding it from the
Yeah, yeah,
side.
yeah.
Maybe
That
that's
makes
why she
sense.
did it. But
Yeah.
actually, a4 still though is not working anyway, even despite the rook being here, or because after this we just take, and you can't actually take here because you're pinned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not
Yeah. So
sure
that
the
just
reason
yeah.
for rook e6. Um, a4 is on the board. She should just go back. But yeah, I think the better move instead of rook e6, we can always play that move. That move, white can't stop us. If we go here,
Yeah.
the point is we're just going to take this and open the a file for our rook, and we don't have to worry about white doing anything because they're blocked completely.
Got you.
Okay, they're moving quickly, both of them. We have a5. Oh, a5. That's not a good move. That's not a good move.
Ooh. That's
Yeah,
she could almost just
because
go
now this is blocking the whole
yeah.
queen side. Yeah, it's blocked. But this is where white had the advantage, actually. Huh.
She could almost go back up. I wouldn't, but she could.
Um, you could, and then you would lose your queen.
could, but I said I wouldn't. I was testing you,
Yeah.
and you passed.
Oh, good. Whew. Thank you.
Listen, every now and then they're gonna be spot tests, Ian.
Well,
That was one of them.
Kamryn's being tested
Yeah.
here because if she goes queen b5, the queen is trapped. She loses it. If she goes queen c7, there's queen takes d5 because of this pin.
Ooh.
Yeah. But she played queen d8 and avoided all of that
Okay, good.
nonsense. So now her rook e6 move was completely justified by white because
I like how you
yeah.
put it, but completely justified by white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he justified it because I was thinking, rook e6 doesn't do anything to help with the issues on the queen side. He got rid of the issues for us on the queen side by playing a5 and blocking things up. Now it may be that the game is headed towards a situation where nobody can do anything,
That's what it looks
but
like.
there's no danger here for black anymore. In fact, the computer gives her an edge, a teeny tiny edge.
Mm.
And yeah, the thing
Yeah,
is
I'm
that
looking
like
and
none of these rooks are useful. There's no open files anywhere for the
yeah,
rooks.
nobody's getting in anywhere.
But rook e6 is potentially useful for, she can double here. As I don't know if it's really going to lead to much, but she could also swing this rook to one of these
I
squares.
like that. I like rook g6 and queen h4.
Well, look, she can get aggressive here. I don't know if queen h4 does much, but maybe now. You remember you wanted to push this pawn earlier in the game. Maybe
I
now
did
we
want
try
to push
something
that
like
earlier.
this.
Maybe now we can do it.
Maybe soon. Um,
Ooh, I like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Rook g6 and start pushing Harry.
Well, look, none of it is. I mean, if white defends well, there's it
Like
shouldn't
it's
be
not gonna,
dangerous.
yeah,
It
it's
shouldn't be dangerous, but
but you
now
know what, that pawn can get there
it can get there. Yeah.
just because of where the queen is.
But
Yeah, the queen
here's the thing.
yeah.
If I was Kamryn, the queen side just got blocked up. All of white's pieces, the rooks and the queen, are over there on the queen side.
Yeah,
So I would want to switch and start attacking now on the king side. My
king
opponent's
side.
getting low on time. Their pieces are misplaced at this moment, and I'm going to the king side. I don't have I don't have an advantage, but I'm just going to put pressure on white. I'm going to throw a pawn up there after the king. I'll bring my rooks and my queen together, and you show me if you can defend. It could get dicey
Mm.
for white over there for sure because the pieces are so far away. It's just the king and the pawn is defending. Queen c2. Okay, I mean there's no danger for black here. She can go for some sort of. She can try to make some threats and do something that looks scary, and there's a fair chance that maybe white overreacts and does something risky. But queen c2 is a good move actually because the queen can come across and relocate, help defend a little
Doing
bit.
the very thing that you talked about, which is like all my pieces are misplaced. Let me
Yeah.
abandon that plan and start getting some things
You know what I might
going.
do? Well, I might just put the queen on e7 and, eyeball this pawn a little bit.
I
Force
like
white
that.
to put some
Yeah,
resources to
come on back
defending
over
it.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is maybe white can play queen c5, and in that case, I don't really want to trade queens. If I trade, then we get a problem on b7.
Yeah, you basically just let them in.
So then I sort of have to move away. Maybe here. I'm sure there's plenty of fine moves. Yeah, and actually, then if white decides I want to go back to queen c2 and do my plan, at least black's up a tempo. We got our queen here, and it's our turn.
Yeah. I think she did
Queen e7.
may have done that.
Yep.
What you suggested. Yeah.
She does not have an earpiece in listening to us, I promise.
No. But she does everything that you talk about. She does. She finds it.
Mhm.
She finds your moves,
Well,
which are good
sometimes.
because yeah, because you find
Sometimes she
mine should
finds
be.
moves that I didn't consider, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
That
I
are
was
good,
not expecting that the take on that night was not expect. And he apparently Jeff was like, I don't hear you either, but I hear you, right?
Yeah,
Because that's exactly what you talked about.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's both really good players.
So
That's
in this position, she definitely cannot take. There's no way she's going to do that. She could allow a queen trade with like rook e8 and trade on e7 and go into a rook and pawn ending. That would be
right.
fine, I believe. But I think if she wants to try to win this game, she's going to need to keep the queens on. So she should avoid the trade at this point. Queen f6 or queen g5 would be the moves I would play here.
Yeah.
And it starts to like we're coming for you, Mr. King.
Yeah.
We're coming.
I
Rook's
want
coming,
Harry
queen's
to
coming.
start, making his way up
Boom,
there. I
boom.
want that. I
Yeah.
need that.
And
Yeah.
like I said, there may not be a real threat, but to white it will look scary, and you get like one wrong pawn advance,
Yeah.
and you could find yourself in trouble very easily. I mean,
Yeah.
in the meantime, man, this a5 move was just
Yeah,
it was
that's
strategically a really bad move because it allowed black to now not have to worry about the queen side at all and focus on whatever she wants to do. It's finally like the initiative has switched. Maybe not switched completely because she still doesn't have threats against white, but she's at least not in defense mode. She can start thinking about things that she wants to do. The only bummer is that there are no knights or bishops on the board because
yeah.
it's going to be hard to attack this king without some sort of piece that can operate on. There's all these holes on the light squares. You would like to have a knight or a bishop to help the queen to do that. The rooks are not ideal for this.
Right.
So if we took this rook off and we took this rook off and replaced it with a knight or bishop, then I would say black has really good chances. Well, not with a
I
bishop on
am.
a8. If you put a bishop on a8, then black's probably in really bad shape. But you put the bishop somewhere that can help with this attack, and then I'm liking black's position a lot more.
Given that if the queens come off the board, it's basically a draw. And correct me if I'm off on that. I'm surprised that white would offer the trade here.
Well,
Um,
no, white is baiting black to take,
got you. Okay. Yeah, they want that.
and they had to guard their b4 pawn as well. So
Got you.
yeah, I mean, if Kamryn goes rook e8, for
Yeah,
example,
I'm saying like if we do
let's just
that,
say
then
this:
it's a yeah,
there's not really much here. None of the rooks can really get in, and the key is that there's no pawn break in the position that doesn't cost somebody a pawn. Like you just don't lose material outright. I mean, white could play d4. They don't even have to, but let's just say they play d4. Queenside completely blocked. Forget about anything happening there. White's never playing e4. We can play. I mean, we don't even have to play f5, but we can. But there's only so many more pawn trades
yeah.
that we can do to
Before
try to
that's it.
open up lines. At some point, White could play f5 and g5 and maybe sack a pawn. Like that's not out of the question. Just to, I don't know if I can illustrate that. Let's just say, do some moves here for White. If you get something like this, well, we're threatening to take, so White would probably capture. And we even give up a pawn, but it's really just temporary. We go here. And we just get some access for our rook. There are lots of weak pawns. Almost every pawn is isolated pawn. And our rooks are attacking, whites are passive. I mean, to get to this, we had to give black a lot of extra moves. This, I would be pretty confident that black has decent winning chances here. Like this, what black can absolutely win. We start picking off the pawns one by one. But getting that pawn break on f4 won't be super easy. It takes a
Yeah,
while.
he's
Yeah.
not gonna just, lay down.
He
Yeah.
also doesn't have to do this move, but yeah.
Fair
And
point.
in the meantime, I don't really know what white should even do. To be honest, there's not a whole ton left.
Yeah. They're this is what you called in. You called that it was gonna be down to where Cameron's about to be under 10. He's
Hmm.
probably going to be under 10
Well,
at
they
some
played
point.
like they used like 2/3 of their time for the first 10 moves, or so.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more, maybe like 15 moves, and then since then they've been playing much faster. So both of them are aware of the clock situation.
Is he still thinking on that move? I could have sworn
He
I saw
played
them
queen
right.
c5, and she just played rook c8, which I don't understand this move. What does this do? Is she still scared of some sort of breakthrough? Maybe she was
Possibly.
maybe she was thinking that white wants to play b5 anyway and sack this pawn. But and then if pawn takes and a6, she wants to have a defender
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
other rook is, I
This
I
is
don't
right
know. It
there.
doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. She's scared of ghosts. Okay, rook c8. I mean, luckily it doesn't really matter because there's just nothing white can actually even do.
Yeah.
So, but rook
Oh, they're
c8
moving
is a
quick
wasted
now.
tempo. Yeah. Did he take the queen? Yeah.
Looks like
Okay.
he did.
He did.
Okay. All right.
There's no danger here for black. There really isn't.
Yeah.
But rook
That
c8 is a
felt like
wasted move.
a yeah. Like, and I feel like he's like, just, I'm tired of looking at
Well,
which I get, man. I
yeah.
get. I get. I get. He's just like, look, man, I'm just play, just do it. Take my traps, you know. And Cameron's like, no, no, I will not do it.
I did play
Hey,
d4.
there's all right. So I swear, man, you're like, Nostradamus.
Well, I
You
didn't
know,
predict
you
rook
like,
c8, but now she
that's
should play
fair.
rook e8, and it's just a tempo behind what I was showing you before. So, thanks a lot again, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah.
Um, as usual, after the game, we'll probably talk to Kamryn for a little bit just to get her feelings on the game, how it went, and go over some of the critical moments. So stick around and join us for that. I actually still think that this game could go on for a while, unless they agree to a draw somewhere. They could just agree to a draw at almost any moment. But again, if she wants to play it out, I think Black is justified in doing that. There is this f5, g5, f4 idea
Right.
that she can pretty much play anytime, I suppose. I don't know what White is going to do with their rooks, but I suppose, like, if White just goes purely defensive, let's say, like, you could set up some sort of fortress like position and even play this move and go here. Let's say, like King f2. Even this would be a draw.
Mm.
There's nothing to, like, if White even allows this backwards pawn that they're stuck defending, there's just not a way for Black to make progress here. There's not enough pieces on the board. And switching to the G file is hard. I mean, White can also put a rook on the G file. So White would have to go really wrong to allow a problem. The problem would be if they dilly dally too much and allow this. Even this might be hard for Black to really win it. But now maybe f3.
Mm.
But this pawn structure is not really good for White, but it's also not, like, they can just defend very passively and everything's covered. We have a backwards pawn that we could exploit if it was a middle game and there were other pieces on the board, but now there's so little left. We can't really do much. Well, actually, in this position, f3 is probably very good. We might be talking about some sort of invasion on the G file now, but
Wow. I like that.
I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a stretch. Let's see what was played. Rook c e8. Oh, White has not actually moved yet.
Oh, okay.
Now he's moved. Rook d3. Yeah, just not really doing anything. I think she'll play f5. There's no reason not to.
Right.
You could even march the king up to f6 before you do anything. I'm not sure another plan really exists for her here.
The game across from her is going a little longer.
In the last round, yeah.
I'm kind of watching Quick Draw over there. Um, it was done in like 10 minutes. Her other games have gone a little longer.
I thought I saw camera move, but maybe not. Okay, yeah, maybe we're just waiting to see if she plays f5 or maybe some other plan.
Mm. I'm gonna find out what that other the person sitting across from her, like, because she's a streamer as well. I'm curious to know her. Oh, it looks like she moved the rook up.
Yeah. doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, I think I think we're heading towards draw by agreement territory, just based on that move. But I'll
Hmm.
be curious to see what White does.
Yeah, and by the way, we haven't said this for a while, but her opponent is nearly 200 points higher rated than Kamryn.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
she's hanging with the Sharks, man,
yeah,
every single game, and is doing well.
we're pretty happy with a draw.
Yeah,
It's a good result. But yeah, I don't know what White is doing with these rooks. What are you doing? Why do they need to be
they keep
piled
throwing
up
the
on
question
E3
back
so
to each
much?
other.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, we could. I mean, this is so blocked up. Here's F5. Good.
there's F5. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought we'd see that. But we could just shuffle around if we wanted to. Like, this is a good clock management strategy. Just
yeah, just to add
shuffle,
time.
get like another 5 minutes on your clock, and then try to do something. She's going for something
Yeah,
right away. But yeah, I mean, she could shuffle the rook between all these squares for like 30 moves if she wanted to. I don't think there's
yeah,
anything White can do. We could do that, and
yeah.
but just 30 quick moves, gain a lot of time on the clock. It's like an arbiter's nightmare.
Good. Have it go back to where you've got 90 again, just from doing all the shuffling.
Yeah, then you make one pawn move, shuffle again for a long time. Before you
Right.
know it, you have like an hour on your clock. uh, yeah, and then you take a draw because there's
Uh,
nothing to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but actually, Cameron has been exceptionally good at finding things to do in positions where it looks like there's nothing. Like there were 2 games ago where I was like, "This is just a draw. This is just a draw,"
Yeah.
and then or it's just a
And she,
loss even,
yeah.
and then she found some way to turn the result into something good for her. So yeah, I mean that's what F5 is. She's trying to do something. I don't think she's going to play G6. I don't know why that arrow is there, but I think G5 getting some space and at some point look for a breakthrough. The reason
Yeah.
why I don't like what White has done with his rooks here is that it's not flexible.
Yeah.
Like if she needs to suddenly bring a rook across here, or like move the king and bring the rook across over here or something, now that's going to take 2 moves to do instead of just like
Yeah.
one. I
Whereas
don't.
where he was before, he was
Yeah, I
fine.
maybe would have
Yeah.
just left the rooks here and here.
I mean, I get it because now I was expecting that move, and
Yeah,
it
this is
sort
why he did
of
this is to play
yeah,
F3,
that it's
bring the
it
king.
yeah. And
Yeah.
she can just move back, and but
Shuffle,
now
shuffle,
things are
shuffle,
getting a
shuffle,
little
shuffle,
interesting.
shuffle,
Yeah,
shuffle.
it gets a little interesting now though, because those his pawn push, like as you said, like I I'm not comfortable. Maybe you are. I'm not.
If I'm White, I'm very comfortable actually,
Yeah.
because the king can come here and guard. You only need one rook defending. It
Yeah.
frees one rook that we don't even have a role for that rook yet, but one of our rooks can move if we want to and do something.
I would definitely mean that, like if I'm Cameron, I'm thinking. I don't like
Oh,
I like pawns, connected pawns, even
mhm.
less than I do knights. I don't like them. I don't like those, and I don't like knights. And this in an end game with rooks, and like I'm
Yeah.
thinking we're fine, and yeah, I don't like it.
By the way, there is another pawn break in the position that maybe Cameron can think about trying at some point. That would surprise her opponent.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, like we do some stuff over here, maybe G5, maybe G6, whatever. We look like we're only focused on the king side, but then all of a sudden, like we bring our king to the center, maybe,
Yeah,
and we play B6. Might be kind of crazy, but we
yeah,
do
you got to
have
show that one.
this.
You got to show that one to your boy. That one scares me more than the three I'm looking at
All right, let's.
connected. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super risky idea because it might just completely backfire. But let's just do some moves. Actually, we'll just shuffle
All
for a
right.
moment. Actually, I want to be a little more accurate, maybe. And probably I want to also play here before I do it, and maybe White's just shuffling. Ideally,
Yeah.
is it crazy to go here? Wait, the computer sees something good for Black. Suddenly, it's liking their position. Why? G5. There are pawn breaks still in a position like this, by the way. G5, king here, F4. And you can't take here, and the awkwardness of the rooks really shows because there's a mate.
Oh, geez.
Look at this.
Yeah,
This is
that's
why the rooks on the third
yeah,
rank doesn't make any sense. I
yeah.
mean, if I get in, you're in trouble. All right, that probably won't happen, but I mean,
He did a lot of dancing to give us that beautiful
yeah,
position.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But my idea, okay, let me go back to my idea really quickly, and then we'll get back to
yeah,
what's happening. Is B6. If takes, we go rook here, and we're just trying to take this pawn, and then maybe get this guy and have an extra pawn.
yeah. Because how does he defend that?
That's what I'm wondering. Rook here, we can
I don't
take.
know that he. Yeah, I don't know that he can.
Rook here. We just pile up the pressure. Maybe the
Yeah,
problem is we can win this pawn, but we lose this pawn, and we're not really better in that case.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to lead to anything. Okay, I think they made a bunch of moves. Oh no, only one move has been made. H4. Wow.
Okay, so he's.
It's
This
risky.
is
It's
why
so
I'm
risky.
again. This is why I'm scared, man. I'm
No,
scared.
no, no,
I'm
no.
afraid.
What are you
I
afraid
don't
of?
the everything, man. I don't like pawns coming. It gives me, this happens to me a lot. I don't like it.
Well, in a middle game, it could be more scary. But in this end
Yeah,
game, it actually gives black chances to try to get some favorable pawn trades. Like probably want our king on f7, something like this.
gotcha.
And let's say king g2, for example. We play g5. Well, if you take, I'm doubling my rooks on the open h file in the next move.
Yeah. Okay, I don't mind that. I like
And
that now.
yeah, yeah. And by the way, these rooks are misplaced
Yeah, and
here.
they're
We
yeah,
gotta
they're
take
gonna be a
two moves to
problem.
get there,
Yeah.
but we're coming really fast. And then we invade and we get checkmate a different way. Actually, they're
I
annoyingly
feel
in
like
time.
they are in time.
They are
Yeah.
in time. Yeah, that's a bummer. But okay, so maybe we have to play like rook h8 first, and white does a waiting move, and then we go here and they take, and now we're in business.
Now we're in time. Yeah.
No, now we look at this. Is this mate? No, it's not quite mate, but it wins a rook. But it also
Yeah.
could be a mate if it's something like this. Could you imagine?
Yeah. But oh, I mean, I like it. I like that a lot more than pawns storming down, on my king. I prefer I want that.
I just think that Cameron's in a better situation with her rooks. If she times it right and can find a way to open the position, is going to favor her a lot. And moves like h4 only helps black in that endeavor. So there's also g5, and after it takes, or maybe they even push past, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Taking's
Like
risky. No, but we
if
have this move
he's
all the time. I think this move is very dangerous for white. Oh, but maybe they
thinking
can
he
just
just
move.
takes with
They just move.
or
That's
maybe he
the
doesn't
problem.
take. Yeah.
Yeah, they just move. And actually, taking doesn't really lead to anything.
He's talking to her. I think he may be offering her. Did they just did they agree to draw?
Maybe they agreed to a draw.
They're chatting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it
they're
looks
they're
like it.
done. So they agreed to a draw. Let's see what happened. H4, G6, King F2, King G7, Rook C1. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they've agreed to a draw unless something happened, or I don't know. But yeah, it looks like the game is a draw. Everybody, another good
That's
result for Kamryn. Very good
that's
result.
not bad
Nope,
considering
not bad at all.
like 200 points. Like, yeah, man, that's a she is swimming with the sharks and holding her own, and
Yep.
I like it. I'm here for it. Good on you, Kamryn.
So we'll have Kamryn on very shortly to talk about the game. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We'll relive some of the important moments, get our thoughts on the game. It was not easy. White had an edge for a long, long time. We were looking at all sorts of complicated variations. There was that flourish in the middle with all those trades that surprised us. Both
Yeah.
players got low on time very quickly. They used a lot of time in the opening. And you know what? It's probably better not to overpress in this final position because um, it could backfire. You don't want to open up a line and all of a sudden white's rooks are coming in on you. So
Yeah.
And really, those checkmating lines I was showing were just if white went crazy.
Listen, I would have enjoyed it. I was hoping we would get it. He was very, very solid.
Yeah.
You know, I think with one exception being that a pawn push. Um
Yeah, that gave
he
away his chances to
yeah,
win basically. Once he played a5, there was no hope for him to win, unless like Kamryn made some absolutely terrible blunder. But
yeah. But he had a lot of things where, she didn't fall for it,
mhm.
and could have.
There were definitely traps that Kamryn had to dodge, and she did a good job with that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, it will.
about to take our
Yeah,
trip around the
about to take
trip
our
around the
walk.
world here.
It's a little bit of a ways
Yeah.
to get to the room
This
where
is my
she
favorite
should
part.
go
Well, I
talk
mean,
to
not
him.
the games are good too, but when the games are done, this is my favorite part of getting the tour of the playing hall.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's like she knows that I want to see it. Now, here's where we get to the non-DGT boards. This is what I was talking about the other
Right.
day.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've got them all there and you don't have to do anything other than show up to your board, maybe you even have a permanent assigned space unless you're playing a streamer. I don't know that they would do that. They probably shuffle you around based on a section, but um, I like this. I feel like everyone should do this. Every event should do this.
I think it's happening more and more. You see it. Used to be never get any sets provided, but and of course European tournaments. I guess I mean I haven't played, but everybody says yeah everything's
Yeah,
provided. But
everybody like I would used to talk to Bruna about this, and I would be like, yeah, we got to bring. She was stunned. She was like, "You bring a board? Yeah, why would you? They don't provide it. Like
yeah,
everybody I know who uh, is non-U.S. coach or player or what have you. They're always kind of shocked that we don't do this here.
yeah. I
But
have
I'm happy
I
to
have
see it.
seen it more and more. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's right. And you also do it. You're
I do.
one of the exceptions.
Yeah, and I and
Yeah.
I and I know for a fact that some people that I've run tournaments for have also been like, huh, I should do that, and they have. So it's a
Gotcha.
trend. Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
That could be something I could talk to Kevin about. Not
Hmm.
Skull, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
US Chess. Yeah.
Hmm. Could be. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there to him and say, man, start providing boards as if he can control that, right? But I'll definitely throw it out there.
Okay. This was the final position. Draw. Kamryn uh, held as black against her opponent, nearly 200 points higher rated than her, and that's an accomplishment.
Yes.
It's all good. And she moves to 3 out of 6, 50% score. And again, every opponent she has played has been significantly higher than her. She's not played down yet. And yeah, and by the way, I think she's played all adults, no kids.
All adults, no kids,
Hmm.
all higher rated, all have been long games.
Yeah, well, last night's
Yeah.
game was mercifully a little bit shorter, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're
But
all
I mean,
pretty, mostly
in
pretty
her
long.
yeah, she went now this will be interesting to see because after the game that she had played prior to the second game yesterday, it had been a long game that she used up every morsel of her time.
Hmm.
Had chances, had to do a ton of think, had maybe 10 minutes to eat something and then come right back. And
Yeah,
so I'm not surprised at all like that game ended the way that it did. I'd be curious to see how this next one goes. Given uh the length of this last one.
yeah,
But this was significantly shorter. I think we were like an hour shorter from where we were yesterday.
that's
Even
true.
though
Yeah,
they
an
use
hour
more,
shorter.
even though they both use more time.
But number of moves was significantly less.
Less. Yeah.
So they didn't get all that added time that they would have gotten if they had made more moves.
Ah, fair point. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I'm forgetting about the increment.
That's why, yeah. Okay.
All right. And this seems to be her spot to
Yeah,
set up.
but the internet's not super great, so right now it's lagging a little bit, but hopefully she finds a good spot and then she left.
And
All
we get
right,
my favorite position
your
of me,
favorite.
yeah, where I'm like on a stool that suddenly, like in a chair that suddenly went down.
Yeah, so bear with us for one moment while we try to get Kamryn back. Oh, no, I shouldn't have even done that. Okay, now
That's hilarious.
it's worse.
That's hilarious. I almost want you to lower me down. Like yeah, exactly.
There we go.
To where you were like, I'm gonna have you like at the start of the stream, he was like, I'm gonna have you like this the entire time. And I was like, yes, do it. Right. Oh man.
If she rejoins the Zoom session, she'll be right back in the. Everything will look good again. So, all right, technical difficulties. Do hold on. Yeah, the internet just in that area is
In that one
apparently
space. Yeah,
not
it's just
very
pretty
good.
bad.
So,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
here she is.
All right, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Kamryn.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello. Hold on a sec. I'm still sideways.
I don't know.
Sorry, 1 second. I went in the room we're supposed to be in, and the connection is horrible in there.
Yeah, you froze on us.
Yeah.
Why is it doing this? Hold on.
You would think for streamers they would put you in a room with internet.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, I do think if you, how did we solve this before? We ran into this before, Kamryn, when we were testing.
I think it's just flipping the phone somehow. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Got it.
Okay, there we go. Yay. Yeah, good game. Pretty good game.
Yeah, nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a draw at the end, no? Like, I didn't have any chances to break through.
It was a draw. We were looking at some fantasy variations where, like, you play, you get you get something like this, and I don't know, you play here, and somehow they get checkmated. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this. We were like, come on, checkmate.
Yeah,
Right.
come on, like do it.
Yeah, the rooks were a little bit awkward on the third rank, but there was nothing. It was just a draw.
Yeah. I'm sure it was sitting like that for a while, because yeah, we were on like move 20 and we both had like 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
It's just like
just
a short game. Very weird. But anyway, were there any interesting moments? I assume that weird like capture chain was kind of
that was it. Like what's funny, Kamryn, is that we took a at that moment we were like, hey, we've been here, it's been a few hours. Hey, let's go get something to drink. Let's go, restroom, what have you. And we had looked at everything but that.
Takes,
so well, we could take here, we could do this, that, and the other, and so we're like, all right, yeah. They've been taking their time. We come back, and I'm like, I came back first, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God, she took the night, and then he took and she's got to like, what do we do? And so Ian comes back, and I was like, Ian, it was your turn to watch her, and we go away for 5 minutes, and this is what we got, right?
Yeah.
I felt he could have like brought his bishop back to attack my queen, right? Was that like a better line for him?
Yeah, I don't know what the best move was in this position. Bishop takes. Oh, in this position though, it was. Oh yeah, bishop takes f3 was
after
best.
I took the knight. Yeah.
Is bishop takes f3 what happened? Yeah. And then you moved. No, but it's. Oh yeah, it wasn't a good idea for him to let you trade. Like he shouldn't have taken the knight. That was the mistake. That sort of gave up any advantage that he might have had. You're right. Bishop to b4 was a little bit better. Keep the two bishops.
Yeah, that's kind of what I.
Because the light squared bishop wasn't very effective. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying probably the same thing you are.
Mm-hmm.
They're both.
But then, like, he did the plan that he should have tried to do earlier with the b4, b5 stuff.
Yeah, the b pawn.
And I guess that's why he decided to keep the bishop. Mm-hmm. But it didn't work. It just didn't work in this phase. Yeah.
We got not that she's gonna have black again. I think she's gonna have white. But that Eve pawn push, because we didn't tell her the last time, and it came up again, and we were like, did we tell her? And we didn't tell her. And then having her queen on c7, essentially waiting for the rook to come over and x-ray it.
Well, yeah,
in
let's
that
go back a
position.
little
So
bit
yeah.
more even. Like the only thing in the opening was really we thought you should have gone Queen B6. A little bit more natural.
Okay, I considered that, but I don't know, the structure didn't seem quite as nice. Because like I've played this kind of thing, like they take and you take with the A pawn.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I love these
but
positions. You get your rook open. You can play B5 later. When this gets traded off, you just play B5. Like this pawn's not
yeah,
usually something to worry about.
okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. It
Also
seemed a
knight
little
to
risky
7.
because I wasn't quite sure how to play it.
Mhm.
But I think what I actually did was probably more risky because they just had all those tactics down the C file.
Yeah, it was more risky for that reason. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but it's good that you were aware of that and you dodged all the tricks. So that was good. But there were a lot of tricks. We were analyzing all sorts of variations. um,
Yeah, I was looking at him playing like um oh God, I forget what it was. There was another knight move I thought he might play once it was a little further in, once I had my
yeah, there was
maybe once I
something.
castled.
By the way, in like, what's it? Where was it? Maybe it
Because there's
was
ideas, there's a lot of
this
ideas.
position.
Yeah, you know, against it.
We keep looking in your earlier game that you had that was a similar opening. We keep looking at things like c takes, and then e4 as being white's best try to go after you, especially with your king in the center. So this is what Omar was
Oh
talking about. Like it actually gets very dangerous for you in these sort of moments.
yeah,
Um,
that's good to know. I need to brush up on what I play. I can't believe he played like the same opening as the guy from the
It's
earlier
almost like it's like
round.
identical. Yeah.
Like nobody plays that line. It's crazy.
yeah, and then it was even like even better for white after knight c3. And what did you play? Yeah, here now still this move, and it's actually really dangerous for you because
Uh,
yeah, once again e4, and it looks like you have it covered enough times, but I think the
but the
point
rook
is
swings in.
the rook is going to swing in, but no, there's also like if you don't have a good capture here. If you take with the knight, there's this move, and like everything's under
Oh,
play. Oh yeah, that's
oh
there are my
yeah,
arrows
everything.
coming back from the broadcast from
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
you're in trouble here. So yeah,
yeah,
this
I'm glad
this
you're-
theme keeps coming up in this particular setup. You just have to watch out for it.
Yeah, there was
okay,
a
yeah.
couple of things that Ian, I think you were talking about too. Like Kamryn, every time it's I need her to play H6. That's a recurring theme, and I need her to castle. Those are the those are the two things. And
Oh,
I'm
she
like,
did.
listen, man, that he's living his best life. He's hanging out, yeah, in the middle of the board.
She did.
Yeah.
I
Um,
kept looking at other like I thought there were too many threats that like I couldn't castle white yet. I was
yeah.
also looking at like
Yeah.
if they played knight h5, then I could go like bishop g or wait, is it knight h4? I
Yeah, knight h4, bishop
losing my
g4. Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
and then like my queen and bishop are kind of nice lined up with the rook and
Something like this is okay for you. Yeah.
yeah. But then in this position, I thought maybe he had like g5 and my I guess my knight's okay. I was having trouble like visualizing all the way through.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess
Apparently, you
that
just
pawn
go
was
here and maybe you hop in. You're not trapped on the side.
okay. Yeah, yeah. That's why I was thinking for so long in that position because I wanted to play h6, but then I was like, well, maybe there's tactics. I don't know. Like maybe I just get a stronger attack if I don't play that way. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
but
why I
once
waited so
white,
long to play
yeah,
it.
when he played bishop e3, I was like, oh, thank God, no e4, no,
Yeah,
not for
I
a
know.
while. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah,
I did see there. Yeah, there's definitely. I don't think I saw that particular line all the way through, but I knew if he started pushing in the center, I was probably going to be in trouble. So I was very glad he blocked his own pawn.
I liked your take here too, Kamryn, a lot. When you took that pawn and didn't just wait for the pawn to come in to take.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, aggressive. I liked it a lot. You had a couple of and I was surprised at the night when you took the night, but I liked it too. Because and Ian even mentioned it where he was saying the being aggressive, taking the fight to white and throwing him off, all good things.
Yeah, I figured if I waited to take, then there's just like I don't know. I'd rather like do it on my own terms and not. I saw the full extent of the lines. I think that happened after I took. Whereas like calculating. Well, what if he leaves it there? What if he takes? That's a little bit harder.
Well,
So
there
Right.
was a big threat here, actually. I don't know if you realized it, but if you had just castled, they can already take, and then after you take, there's this knight d4 move again. Oh, actually, there's knight b5 right now. Okay, so maybe if you played like a6 in this position, they do this, and then knight d4. You got to save your bishop, but then they're able to start taking stuff. Oh, actually, here they can't
Yeah.
take. Here, like if you go back this way, because they opened up the bishop, they can take this now.
Right. Yeah, I really didn't want to lose my bishops that early, so I was being very mindful of that, like knight b5 moves.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
So you did play
I'm glad I
a6.
figured out a way to stop that.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there any other like because it got messy around here with this move.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
guess
I
you
was always
calculated it
that.
pretty well. Yeah, you figured it all out. It wasn't. Well, I mean, you could have played something a little simpler, perhaps. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I forgot to calculate what if bishop takes.
bishop takes on
So,
b. You mean if you just
That's
took on b6?
fantastic.
Oh,
I love it.
like I
Yeah.
saw it and then I was like, okay, I'll calculate that next. And then I just like never did. So yeah, I got very lucky that it was fine, but oh my gosh.
yeah. Something like this would have been fine for you as well. Well, white has a little edge in all these lines, but it doesn't really change anything. You could have gone for something like this.
Mhm. And I could never take that knight when he brought the knight into
Yeah.
d4. I can never take that because then the rook opens up.
Yep.
Queen can come in, I think, and double attack.
Yep.
What you mean later on, or what? I don't know what you mean.
Just right before he brought the bishop.
Oh, if the knight came in first.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
no.
No, before and in the previous line, and you called it out a bunch of times when we were in stream.
Right
Where
here.
if she takes that knight, it just opens the file up for the rook, opens up the D file.
Oh, I see.
You had pointed that out a bunch of times, and you were like, "You can't take here, you can't do this." And you showed some lines
This
where
position,
it was there.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
we take, it's just this move is going to be a problem. Or if you take with the knight in particular. You could take with the bishop, but if you take with the knight, then you're going to lose a piece after this.
Yeah.
That was another landmine you had to dodge. There were a whole bunch kind of scattered in there, but you did a good job.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, I don't know why he played, like if we fast forward a little bit, I don't know why he played a5 over here. Like that seemed like it gave up any hope of an attack that he might have had. Was it like it was this moment? Yeah, a5. That just did you feel like any sense of relief here? Did you already think you were even, or like what were you thinking?
Yeah, I was
here?
glad he shut that down because I thought if he tried to like just like continue kind of minority attacking, then like my
Right.
backwards pawn on b7 would be weak. And yeah, his rook seemed a little more active if he tried to break it open on that side. So yeah, I was very glad when he shut it down. But I feel like there were still like landmines I had to dodge because when he re-offered the queen trade, I don't think I could take because then my b pawn gets weak.
Yeah.
Right.
thought-
Here.
I thought maybe the best thing to do was you could fight for a win a little bit if you go somewhere like queen here or here. It doesn't change the evaluation at all, but we were sort of thinking maybe you keep some hopes alive to attack, but
does he have queen b6 and then like if I go queen f6 and he has queen b6?
yeah, maybe you just go back temporarily. It's not easy to make a lot of progress here, but yeah, it's true. But
okay. Yeah, I just didn't want to allow his queen in to there, so I mean he still could have gone there, but
yeah, you played rook c8. Okay. We didn't quite understand rook c8, but
well, if he did play queen b6, I was gonna offer the queen trade on c7.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if he went back, because I thought it was a draw at that point.
Yeah, the whole thing is a draw. It doesn't really matter too much, but yeah, I suppose if the queen comes in, I sort of said during the stream, I was like, well, maybe she's afraid of ghosts here. I don't really see too much. If the queen comes in, like I imagine you could defend the pawn with a rook, and then you eventually move the rook away, but you could have your queen and rook go do something, and their queen is tied down to attacking the pawn, and your rook is tied down, but at least you're tied down with just a rook and not a queen, But
Yeah. Okay. So I did have the
It's,
time.
it's interesting. Yeah, all of it was fine.
Okay.
And there wasn't.
I've been bit so many times by like those backwards pawns that don't seem like they're gonna be a problem that I was like, I don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So
No, I get it. I mean, it was white had edge. They had threats. You avoided everything. It was a tough position for a little while, but yeah, you got the draw. It was a good game. You played well.
nice.
The whole
I
way
feel like
through.
I've been getting very lucky in this tournament, multiple games.
Yeah, I don't think so. At some point, it starts to become a pattern. Like you're finding good moves. Your defensive resources are good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe it's just the skill. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think
at the end, did he?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, did he ever have like if he got his rooks on the B file here somehow, and then like could he ever try and break through with B5? Or does that just never work?
I suspect it never works. Like Rook B1 and Rook B3.
Yeah, or even just like I was thinking he would like sack the pawn or sack like both the pawns to give me a backwards pawn on C6. That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, but you have now this is a good example
But
of
then
trying too hard to win, Like
yeah.
you could almost stick your rook behind one of the pawns, and if white ever comes after your C pawn, maybe you just let him take it. And then you have these two pass pawns, you're just gonna go.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So probably there's not much he can try. If anything, I actually was trying to like march your king over and you do a pawn break and do something like this, but that also wouldn't have really worked. So.
Well, I was trying to do it on the other side and then maybe bring my rooks in and start giving checks, but I didn't think it really amounted to anything.
It would have taken a lot of preparation. It would have taken a mistake by him. I mean, you could have played on a little longer without much risk, but you both were low on time, so I think a draw was perfectly good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it made sense.
We were even joking that white can't do anything. Maybe you just shuffle for like 30 moves to gain like a whole bunch of time and then start thinking.
And with more time than you started with. Yeah. Hilarious.
Torture, but yeah.
He offered the draw and I glanced over at the sheet that has his rating on it and I'm like, I'm gonna gain rating from this draw. And so then I accepted it.
Yeah.
But it's probably a bad mindset to have, but
it's probably better to play the board, but yeah, we'll take it. Yeah. This is one of those situations where it's so drawn, you just do it.
Yeah, there's just nothing. So, but anyway. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go eat. I got another game coming up here pretty quick. Last game of the weekend.
Yeah, so we'll be back. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back in a little bit less than 2 hours. And so we hope you'll join us again. And yeah, it'll be the last round is this evening, so don't miss it. I'm sure it'll be another good one.
Yeah. All right. Bye guys. Thanks for commentating.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching.
See you in a little bit.
See you later.
See you in a bit.
Bye.